Part 218. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2176. Jia Yan looked at these two strong men from a distance. In an instant, they lined up the surrounding battleships and fought fiercely. He couldn't help but shake his head. Then, he put his gaze in front of him and pulled away some distance, but because he knew that he only had a clone, he was a little confused and wanted to take action, but he didn't dare to do it. On the body. It's time for us to get started. I am a clone with low strength. Why don't you try and see if you can defeat this clone? If you really defeat me, you will become famous. Jia Yan controls the human clone and hooks his fingers. Hearing Jia Yan's words, the other party's eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, he also thought of what Jia Yan said. Who is Jia Yan? He was the commander-in-chief of the Zerg Queen's retreat, and his strength was even more earth-shattering. As soon as he came to this battlefield to take up his post, he was as powerful as a rainbow, killing many galactic-class people, and also fought with the two commander-in-chiefs of their domain master forces. The ability to join forces with another person and create a tie exists. And for such a being, even if his clone is at the stellar level, if he can kill it with his own hands, wouldn't he have made a great contribution? It is even possible that after returning to his own force, he will become the leader of the entire force. Hero. After all, he is just a star peak and has not yet entered the galaxy level. Such a being can win a battle with the enemy commander's clone. It is not clear who is stronger, but Jia Yan is Jia Yan. He winning will greatly improve the morale of the entire army. As for himself, he is only 1 or 2 times away from the galaxy level, or if his energy meets the requirements, he can be promoted. If he has such military exploits, wouldn't he be able to apply for supplies from the Lord of the Territory, wouldn't it, Galaxy hopefully? Thinking of this, the intelligence leader's eyes became extremely fiery. Beat. Kill. As long as he wins the battle and kills this Jia Yan clone, he will get everything he wants. Even if he no longer participates in wars in the future, he will still be a hero in his own force, and he may even remain in the entire force. The only one who has defeated Jia Yan. Your Excellency Jia Yan, since you personally invited me to fight, then I have the guts to fight against the adult's clone. Please show mercy. As an intelligence leader, he should be extremely calm, but this powerful man at the top of the stellar level understands intelligence too well and now thinks that this is the only great opportunity in his life, so I can no longer care about that much. He roared, and even the slightest bit of damage Jia Yan had just caused to his head seemed to no longer hurt, and he roared and rushed forward. Oh! That's right. He is so spirited, as expected of a young man. Being impulsive is a good thing. Ha ha ha. Jia Yan, who was definitely younger than the other party, smiled immediately when he saw the intelligence chief rushing towards him. Then, he turned into the fighting method he was most familiar with, taking a gentle step. Buzz. The whole person disappeared into the subspace. The combat effectiveness of this intelligence leader must be much stronger than that of the stellar mid-level that Jia Yan's clone killed earlier. This is because Jia Yan did not spare any hands. He hit the opponent's head with one blow, but it did not cause any damage to him. Death is evident. But that's it? The clone cannot kill a strong man at the top of the star with one blow. This is something Jia Yan has already expected. Although he has made up his mind, he refuses to use his own meteorite explosives to deal with this person. A strong man, but this does not mean that he really cannot kill a strong man at the top of the star. It is indeed a bit difficult to do this with a clone that has the maximum capacity of actual brainwave power and is only half a star level. However, how can the methods of a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy be imagined by ordinary powerhouses? Especially Jia Yan, he has one trick that is the most shameless and the most useful against creatures weaker than himself. That is, subspace talent. Even if the clone is a clone, his subspace ability is guaranteed. Even if the clone is not so talented, the combat power inherited from the true body is enough to deal with the top star powerhouse in front of him. Second space. This Jia Yan, by the way, he is a strong man in the subspace, and he just asked me to come to fight. He must be repaying this because he is sure. He is an existence at the top of the middle level of the galaxy. And when he saw that the creature that was about to be attacked fiercely by him suddenly disappeared in front of his eyes, the approaching intelligence chief felt like he was waking up from a dream, and his face suddenly changed wildly. The previous overwhelming momentum instantly turned into a feeling of uneasiness in his heart. He quickly gave up the all-out attack and put away his fists, even letting the punch cause internal injuries to himself. He backed away wildly. This is a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, or a powerful figure among them, and I actually want to kill him? No, according to the information I know, this Jia Yan once ranked as a star in his hometown. A low-level person who has killed mid-level stars. Although the rumors are not completely true, it is very possible that he has leap-level combat power. I am actually challenging his clone. The more people know about intelligence, the more they think in their minds. Especially when facing the existence of the supreme head of state in the previous enemy's army, the intelligence chief will often think more. With a restrained roar, he suddenly stopped his hand, and then he couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood. This was seen in the subspace, and Jia Yan, who was thinking about what method to use to kill this powerful enemy, was slightly stunned. His mouth twitched. What's going on with this guy? Could it be that he has practiced a technique that can improve his strength by injuring himself? For example, the method of disintegrating demons in the book. Jia Yan looked very strange, but when he was observing, he felt that the aura of the self-inflicted star peak powerhouse dropped by 2 levels because he hurt himself. Then he shook his head, feeling that this should not exist in reality. The method is correct. Although I don't know what happened to him, if I don't seize such a good opportunity, wouldn't I be unworthy of my name as Commander-in-Chief? With such an injury, there is no need to think about any combat skills, just kill him with one blow. Go over there. Jia Yan sneered, and then he penetrated into the subspace behind the enemy. Before the stellar peak powerhouse could react, he had already taken a quick step out of the subspace, and when his expression changed drastically, he faced target his heart, use his brainwave power and body strength with all his strength. No. Stop it. The top intelligence leader of the Star Peak, who immediately regretted his self-mutilation, was just immersed in regret, but when he saw Jia Yan finally attacking, his face changed wildly again, and he quickly tried to resist. But he injured himself, and his speed has been greatly reduced. As a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, Jia Yan, even though his combat skills are not comparable to the veteran powerhouses at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, but his grasp of the rhythm of battle and the timing of key attacks are better than those of ordinary strong men, otherwise he would not have achieved his current fame. Therefore, this attack was completely beyond the intelligence chief's ability to predict and resist. Puff. In this attack, Jia Yan used his subspace talent. More importantly, he used the blue defense blessing technique that he had not long studied on his real body, and used it on this clone. The entire arm instantly turned blue. Incomparable. Even though this clone does not have many of the azure characteristics of his real body, with the help of the yin-yang Dao brainwave power, this pair of arms still possesses more than twice the hardness and explosive power of the previous punch. So after this blow, the face of the Star Peak intelligence leader, who could not withstand it, changed wildly, and he watched helplessly as Jia Yan was stabbed into it from his chest. Puff. After that, it took 3 seconds for a blow to penetrate from the other end, that is, his back. This blow was dangerous and very difficult. After all, it penetrated so slowly, which showed that Jia Yan encountered considerable resistance in the opponent's body. But no matter what, the blow was successful, and it penetrated the chest through the back, and passed through the opponent's heart in the middle. Therefore, this powerful intelligence leader at the top of the star was destined to die. I hate it. The fire of wisdom in the eyes of the intelligence chief gradually extinguished, but there was too much regret and annoyance in the process of extinguishing. That's right, Jia Yan was weird for him. Why did Hao Duan choose to injure himself when facing his clone, a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy? Could it be to show fairness? This is too kind. Anyway, when this strong man at the top of the star died, Jia Yan didn't understand what happened to him. He only knew that inside this strong man's body, he encountered extremely terrible resistance. If it weren't for the power of his brainwaves, incessantly, he can always maintain his strongest state. Maybe this blow will cause his clone to sink into the opponent's torso and become his clone's physical death. Fortunately, there was no what if, and even if something like that happened, Jia Yan would still have a way to escape. In short, he had completed his task of dealing with the strong man at the top of the star, and Jia Yan was still satisfied with the result. What? That adult is dead. Wasn't this gentleman very confident just now? No. Something must have happened when the Lord roared past. Otherwise, why did he rush over so aggressively, only to spit out a mouthful of blood inexplicably? This Jia Yan can actually use his clone to perform such mysterious attacks. Be careful, his clone is more powerful than we imagined. Don't touch him, let the weak army go over and temporarily hold him back with numbers, and wait until the two Galaxy-class battles determine the winner. Then we join forces with the Galaxy-class, and it should be more than enough to take him down. Yes, his clone, no matter how powerful it is only at the level of a star. We can still use a large number of lives to hold it back. After Jia Yan killed the enemy's top intelligence leader, the soldiers and strong men on both sides were extremely shocked. Although Jia Yan is a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, his true body did not come in this battle, just a clone. Previously, the soldiers in the Zerg Queen's force thought that theirs was a powerful person. The clone of the commander-in-chief is destined to fall into the hands of the strong man at the top of the star. What he never expected was that Jia Yan actually won the fight, and he won so neatly. As for the enemy, they were extremely frightened. That is a strong man who is only one step away from the galaxy level. Moreover, he is the middle-level galaxy being who is currently fighting, a veteran star-level powerhouse of the same period. His combat experience and combat strength are much more powerful than those of ordinary star peak powerhouses. It is said that he has reached the point where he is about to reach the stars and catch up with his old friends. But such a strong man couldn't survive even a few moves in the hands of Jia Yan's clone. All of a sudden, in response to the methods of the mid-level peak powerhouses in the galaxy, all the enemy soldiers felt a kind of cold air rising. No star-level existence dared to step forward anymore, but forced a large number of heaven-level, starry-level, venerable-level, and half-star-level existences used fighter planes or various space flight weapons to surround Jia Yan's clone, to cause interference to him, making him unable to use your hands to kill other strong men. But this behavior indeed hindered Jia Yan, but his energy came directly from his true body and could be said to be endless, so he was not afraid at all of fighting a protracted war. However, because the enemy had to arrange a large number of personnel to kill Jia Yan's clones, other battlefields that had a numerical advantage over the Zerg Queen's fleet suddenly became stretched thin. What was originally an all-round suppression and sneak attack battle suddenly turned into a fierce battle due to the appearance of a clone like Jia Yan. It can be said that the helpful role of his clone is simply unlimited. Puff. Bang. The two powerful men separated in space with one blow. The fluctuations in their fight here are incomparable to any battlefield around them, even the battlefield over Jia Yan. Because this is a confrontation between two galaxy-level players. Ha ha ha, your strong man at the pinnacle of the star is so useless that he can't even fight against a clone of our Lord Jia Yan. Hey, you'd better choose to surrender on your own, otherwise my lord Jia Yan will use his if the clone defeats you, you will still be embarrassed after you die, which is simply the biggest joke. The supremely confident galaxy elementary being from the Zerg Queen's force fought with the opponent's galaxy intermediate powerhouse for dozens of breaths, but he didn't fall too far behind. Humph. Although I don't know why my old friend was killed, as a galaxy-level person, I should understand that it is just a clone. Even if this clone is a bit unique, it is still impossible to defeat a top star power so easily. Otherwise, the galaxy-level beings in this world don't need subordinates and just use their strength to create clones. There is no such simple thing in the world. Bang. Please remember the first domain name of this book. 4novel.com. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2177. Bang. The enemy's mid-level galactic warrior struck down with one blow. This blow actually did not result in a tie with the galactic junior warrior from the Zerg Queen's force. Instead, it finally knocked back the opponent's arms that had been raised to resist. As soon as he retreated, blood flowed from the corner of the mouth of the first-level powerhouse of the galaxy from the Zerg Queen's force. As expected, how can you, a junior powerhouse in the galaxy, be tied with me? No need to pretend, we have already analyzed your combat effectiveness clearly. If you continue to pretend, it will only lead to your death faster. However, even if you don't pretend, you will die soon. Then I will destroy Jia Yan's clone. This battle, our forces will win. The enemy's mid-level galactic powerhouse sneered, as if this battle seemed a little bad, but in fact everything was under his control. If a galaxy-level being from the Zerg Queen's force dares to be so confident, he is naturally not a rookie, but he overestimates himself and underestimates the enemy. From a distance, Jia Yan was fighting back against the weak enemies and fighter planes that were rushing towards him like crazy. At the moment, he no longer felt like he was flying a fighter plane just now, but with the power of his brainwave passing by, he was dead. The kind of blockbusters, compared to this kind of crushing strength, no trump card is useless. Moreover, Jia Yan's brainwave power comes from the main body. As long as the clone can withstand it, the terrifying power of the main body can almost make the clone release its power endlessly. After a battle, the enemy will not only give him the clone body apart from causing damage, there are almost no other ways to injure him, and it is even difficult to reduce his strength. While engaging in offensive and defensive battles with these enemy human sea tactics, Jia Yan observed the enemy galaxy class in the battle, as well as our galaxy class. Well, this guy on our side just doesn't listen to me. When he went to fight, I told him not to be so impulsive, but he just didn't listen. According to me, he must have a more powerful trump card and more means, but no matter how powerful the means, strength is strength. If the opponent's mid-level strong man from the galaxy dares to intercept, he is destined to not lose to him, and he will have to punish his abilities, alas. Jia Yan smiled bitterly. Buzz boom. Then, the power of his brainwaves surged forward and backward again, making the energy that exploded become more aggressive. The flames of war in this war zone have become more intense. Of course, no matter how boiling it is, it can't be as intense as the two galaxy-level powerhouses on the other side. And sure enough, just as Jia Yan had expected, this powerful person at the beginning of the galaxy from the Zerg Queen's force finally used his trump card amidst the cynicism and sarcasm from his enemies. He seemed to be a very muscular and impulsive person. His trump card is actually the hallucination-like combat ability. In an instant, he uses the power of brainwaves to create an hallucination scene that makes the enemy slightly dazed, and the entire starry sky almost looks like a planet. But the enemy was not bad at all. His reaction speed was extremely fast. He raised his fist with a white light, and then punched out. The first-level galactic powerhouse of the Zerg Queen's force spat out another mouthful. Blood, The huge monster body flew backwards. What was even more terrifying was that when the first-level warrior from the Zerg Queen's force flew out upside down, a terrifying aura rose deep in the enemy's fleet, where even Jia Yan's clone was not aware of it. He is actually an enemy of the galaxy level. Although he is only a first-level warrior of the galaxy, at this moment, he can be said to be able to deal with the first-level existence of the Zerg Queen's force. After a shocking blow erupted from the side of the junior warrior of the galaxy, the junior warrior of the Zerg Queen's force managed to block it, and then fled to the other side with his injuries aggravated. Look, I know it. Jia Yan, on the other hand, was endlessly dealing with ordinary fighters and even small warships swarming around him. After discovering the drastic change in the battle situation, he no longer dared to think about anything else and stepped out into the subspace. Click, click. When the enemy came to besiege him, they naturally had a way to deal with the subspace, which was to completely block the surrounding subspace. Jia Yan only used his clones to rush into the blocked subspace, just like crashing into a wall. It was very difficult. Fortunately, he had already anticipated this. When his body became difficult, a meteorite exploded from the depth of the third layer of the subspace, opening a large hole, allowing him to change from the direction of this large hole. Get unobstructed? No, he actually carries this kind of meteorite. Quickly block it again, otherwise so many of our lives will be useless by delaying his speed. Yin yin yin. Jia Yan only felt that in the space around the meteorite, the enemy's warships triggered extremely powerful subspace chaos equipment, as well as stabilization equipment, etc., causing rapid interference, causing the meteorite that opened the way to keep hitting the subspace desperately. It's useless, it's not enough to watch. Jia Yan used his own performance to prove that a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, even if he only sends a clone, he is no ordinary character. A large number of battleships and fighter planes, or a strong man below the venerable level, can take he is of no use at all. The meteorite crashed into the entire subspace, knocking a passage out of the chaotic subspace. Jia Yan followed the subspace passage towards the escape direction of the strong man at the beginning of the galaxy, and suddenly chased away. No, he escaped from our control. Hurry up and tell the two galaxy-level adults that Jia Yan is coming over. Humph, what was his use in the past? He was just a star-level clone. There were 3 galaxy-level battlefields over there. One of them was even a mid-level star. His body was just a peak mid-level star. Fighting at the same level, or a clone, how could he possibly do anything? Watching Jia Yan's clone escape from the blockade blocked by a large number of warships and fighter planes, everyone in the enemy fleet felt furious. But they didn't think that Jia Yan would do anything if he got close to him. This was not the arrival of his real body, just a clone. However, the necessary notifications cannot be missing. There were many liaison officers at the moment, contacting the 2 Galaxy-class people in the battle and explaining the situation of Jia Yan's clone rushing over. Huh? Did Jia Yan's clone actually break through the blockade? But it doesn't matter, it's just a clone. We have seriously injured the Galaxy elementary level of the Zerg Queen's force. There is no possibility for the 2 of them to join forces. They will definitely still be defeated by us. The commander-in-chief of the enemy fleet, the guy who seriously injured the entry-level warrior of the Zerg Queen's force, the Galaxy, saw the information. Although he paid more attention to it, he didn't pay much attention to it. He is only 1 level different from Jia Yan's real body. He is said to be all in the middle level of Galaxy. Although the actual combat power is probably very different, he does not think that Jia Yan can beat him just by having a clone. Well, as a strong man, he is still confident in this. Another junior powerhouse from Galaxy snorted coldly after seeing the news. He thought that even if Jia Yan's clone was powerful, he could easily deal with it by himself. At the moment, What these two enemy galaxy-level beings want to do most is to capture and kill the fledgling Galaxy Junior of the Zerg Queen's force. This is a great achievement. Then, if they can turn around and kill Jia Yan, it is also a great achievement, and it may even be a great gimmick to boost one's own morale and cause the enemy's morale to plummet. After all, no matter what Jia Yan says, he is still the war commander of the enemy forces. They in the galaxy level naturally know that it is just his clone and has no weight at all. But the soldiers at the bottom don't know that they can kill such a body anyway. The clone will definitely cause a big contrast in the morale of both parties. Of course, the first priority is to kill the primary powerhouse of the galaxy in front of him. After killing him, both morale and actual effects will be much stronger than killing Jia Yan's clone. Humph, you actually look down on my clone? You don't even look back. Jia Yan pursued in the subspace. After getting rid of the control of a large area behind him, he was like a wild horse. He sank into the three-dimensional subspace in an instant, and his speed immediately caught up with the big ones in front. Galaxy-level existence. You know, in terms of speed, subspace beings are generally very fast. Especially when Jia Yan is immersed in the third-dimensional subspace, and there are meteorites clearing the way in front, this speed is really compared to ordinary galaxy-level beings. When the unique traveling speed is not used, it is even faster. It's just that Jia Yan continued to immerse himself in the fifth dimension until he reached the fifth dimension. The entire clone began to become bloody and bloody. Because the clone did not have such powerful physical and subdimensional talents, reaching the fifth dimension was the limit. However, the pursuit speed in this fifth dimension greatly exceeded that of the three galaxy-level warriors in front. Soon, he chased after two strong men who were chasing the galaxy-level existence of the Zerg Queen. Are you here? Jia Yan, since you dare to use separate avatars to join the battle between galactic classes, then you must be prepared for the avatars to be destroyed. That's right, come on. For ordinary galaxy-level beings, the destruction of their clones will also cause major mental problems. So if we destroy your clones and reduce your body's strength, it will be a great achievement. You can deal with it next. The middle-level peak adults of the galaxy who have conquered our power will no longer have the slightest advantage, so die. When the two galaxy-level people felt the fluctuations in the subspace behind them, they knew that Jia Yan had actually used a mere star-level clone to catch up with them who were flying at full speed. Suddenly, the two people's faces were cold, and they were ready to deal with Jia Yan coming from behind. Although they looked down on Jia Yan's clone, since it was delivered to their door, they didn't mind killing the clone and giving themselves some credit. Master Jia Yan is here. The first-level powerhouse of the Zerg Queen's force, the galaxy, stopped a certain pace when he felt the two galaxy-level pursuers behind him, and immediately relaxed a little. He felt a little uncomfortable. He was so confident, but he didn't expect that he would end up running away. Jia Yan had taught him so hard before, but he felt like he didn't listen at all. He sighed bitterly, but still kept a certain distance from the two people behind him, then flew in a direction where he could escape quickly, turning his head to look at the battle situation behind him. You two, it is better to dissolve enemies than to make enemies. You are chasing my subordinates and defeating many with less. This is not something that ordinary strong men would do. In the subspace, Jia Yan's clone suddenly flew out from the fifth degree in a bloody mess, and at the same time he spoke. Jia Yan, it goes without saying. We are the enemy. No matter what method we use, we just need to win. For example, if you were here in person, we would be the ones escaping. But if you are not here in person, we can't help you at the moment. If it's him, even your clone will be killed. Yes, Jia Yan, I respect you as the commander-in-chief of the enemy army, but everyone is their own master, so now I can only say that I am offended. The two galaxy-level beings, at least on the surface, still have a certain respect for Jia Yan's clone. After all, his real body is not dead. If Jia Yan's clone is killed, the junior galaxy-level creature behind him will also be killed. The next time Jia Yan saw them on the battlefield, he would be in trouble if he only chased and killed the two of them, regardless of the other strong men. They just said good things, and they moved their hands, but they were not ambiguous at all. When Jia Yan's clone came out of the two-dimensional space, the brain waves of these two strong men, the power had already surged into this deep subspace, aiming at Jia Yan's clone and wrapping it up in an instant. Hey, you are so careless. Crush it? Good. The two galaxy-level beings originally thought that the dignified Jia Yan would not fall for their tricks at the first time, but they never expected that a commander like Jia Yan could not control his clones well, or he was too careless. Was immediately caught by the brainwave power of the two people, and completely controlled in the depths of the second dimension. As long as they exert force, this tiny clone, which only reaches star-level strength, or may not even have star-level strength, will be caught and exploded by the brainwave power in an instant. Just as the two powerful men were about to take action, Jia Yan's clone in the second dimension twitched his lips slightly and sneered. Deep in the subspace behind him, a sound of gold and iron mingled together, and then, not far from this subspace, a meteorite that had already accelerated to the extreme shot suddenly. Boom! This meteorite explosive passed in front of Jia Yan's clone, knocking away the two brainwave powers that controlled him in an instant. Then it was aimed in the direction of the two Galaxy Class 1s, and hit straight into the space. And then from the subspace, the electric light and flint shot out of the subspace and came to the front of the two galaxy levels. Varied. His meteorite explosion move. The two strong men who had no time to react suddenly changed their expressions. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2178. Then, the two of them wanted to retreat. After all, this kind of meteorite didn't look like it was made by Jia Yan's clone, but the work of his real body. And you must know that his true body used this meteorite to defeat those at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, and even severely injured a few of them. It's too late to leave now. Jia Yan said that this move that he had been preparing for a long time was not something they could avoid temporarily. He controlled the giant meteorite about 1 kilometer with his brainwave power, chased one of the first-level galaxy powerhouses with a little difficulty, and bombed it with one shot. Ah! The expression of the first-level powerhouse in the galaxy changed drastically. In desperation, he could only use all his brainwave power, gather strength, and even use his trump card. But he is only a strong person in the first level of the galaxy. The reason why he has not made a move just now is that he is not an opponent of the first level of the Zerg Queen galaxy at all. He belongs to the very weak galaxy level. What he was facing now was another meteorite explosive created by Jia Yan's true form. For a galaxy level of this strength, even if it wasn't a blow from a god, it was almost the same. So how could he stop it? Bang! The earth-shattering explosion sound was like detonating the entire universe. At this moment, all those observing this battlefield felt their eyes go white. Next, the terrifying explosion shockwave from afar is coming. Several battleships were blown back involuntarily, their functions damaged, and fighter planes exploded in the air one after another. The strongest ones were less than half a star. Under the influence of such explosions, they would either die or vomit blood. Seriously injured. Even the people watching the battle around would end up like this, let alone the first-level powerhouse of the galaxy in the center of the explosion. Ah! For the first time, he was swallowed up by the terrifying explosion light. Then, the whole person was like a small boat drifting in the light, drifting with the current. In an instant, several huge meteorites appeared in his body under the explosion, resulting in wounds. Moreover, the wound expanded rapidly, and the meteorite material in the meteorite explosive, like a bullet, penetrated his entire body and even partially unraveled inside his body, completely destroying all the internal organs. Are unwilling. This first-level powerhouse in the galaxy felt that he was really unlucky. He was obviously very cautious. When the mid-level warrior from his own galaxy said he wanted to fight the primary warrior from the Zerg Queen galaxy, he had already carefully stated that he could not fight the opponent while he was in good condition. Just because he is afraid of death. Unexpectedly, when he targeted the junior strongman from the galaxy who was part of the Zerg Queen's force, he was injured and took action, but he still inevitably ended up being killed. The person who killed him was an entity that was not part of the plan in this battle, Jia Yan's clone. What's even more tragic is that the clone's strength was only that of a star. He was killed by such a clone. There is no place to redress his grievances, so who makes him weak? Puff puff. The flying fragments of explosives shocked the mid-level strong man in the galaxy not far away and also caused some injuries. A large scar suddenly appeared on his body. How could this explosive be used without its body? Bastard, Tur is dead, my most loyal subordinate is dead, and this Jia Yan obviously doesn't even want to let me go. Escape. This mid-level galactic man felt the injury on his body, and combined with the explosives that Jia Yan still seemed to have, he immediately wanted to retreat. He knew very well that he was not without backhand power, because he was a mid-level powerhouse in the galaxy. He was different from everyone present. His brainwave power was overwhelming, and the strength of Jia Yan's clone was not enough to deal with him at all. Now that he knows that the clone has such explosives, he only needs to quickly use brainwave power to interfere with the subspace when the explosives appear. Then the effect of the explosives will be greatly reduced, or even completely incapable of attack. To him. Jia Yan, I will never forget this. Be prepared. When I advance to the top of the intermediate galaxy, I will come to trouble you. This middle-level being from the galaxy actually said harsh words to Jia Yan even as he was retreating. There is no need to wait until that time. If you have the ability, kill my clone now. Jia Yan sneered. His tiny human body had already flown out of the subspace and into the normal universe. He looked at this middle-level galactic man with a hint of teasing in his cold expression. This guy actually thinks that by being promoted to the top of the intermediate galaxy, he can pose a threat to him? Or is it that the trouble he talks about rising to the top of the middle level of the galaxy is just to beat his own clone? Well, if that's the case, Jia Yan admitted that he would definitely not be able to defeat a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy with a clone, even if he had countless explosives. After all, his control ability was too weak. Anyway, no matter what he meant, Jia Yan was not ready to let this guy leave. It would be nice to understand the grievances earlier, so that Jia Yan would not have to wait for the other party to be promoted, just like the grievances with Black Sheep now, which made him uncomfortable and dragged on for too long. Humph, you can't catch up with me either. The enemy at the mid-level peak of the galaxy flew forward with a sinister expression on his face, disturbing the subspace behind him as he flew, making it impossible for Jia Yan's clone to catch up with him at super fast speed. No need to chase. Jia Yan, who was in a state of leisure, sneered as he watched the strong man leave. After waiting for a while, he waved gently. At this time, the two sides were more than 5,000 kilometers apart. For ordinary strong attacks, this distance had almost no effect. But this wave of hands has different effects. That is, within the subspace, a large number of meteorite explosives all lit up with brilliance. The explosives that Jia Yan's clone carried this time were the unused parts during the last war. As I said earlier, this kind of explosives is not easy to make, and once it is successfully made, it will weaken every once in a while. Cut. Now that so many days have passed, Jia Yan's explosives will be greatly reduced if left unused for a long time, so he simply asked his clone to carry all the unused ones. There is no question of waste or not. Anyway, it's useless to leave it alone. So for the last enemy at the moment, Jia Yan felt that there was no waste in using the meteorite explosives on him, so he used it. Boom. In the subspace, a meteorite first lit up, then poured out of the depths of the subspace, and then bombarded the middle-level galaxy powerhouse, who was so proud that he thought he had escaped. Not good. The mid-level powerhouse in the galaxy thought that he was about to escape successfully because he had distanced himself. Unexpectedly, there was a surge of energy in the subspace. His expression changed wildly, and he suddenly turned his head to look at the surge of earth-shattering power. Cosmic position. Here, run away. When he sensed that what was coming was another explosive hidden in the subspace, the strong man collapsed, turned around and ran away with an ugly face. It's a pity that his speed is still a bit slower than that of meteorite explosives. After all, they triggered all the positive and negative forces from the subspace to bombard them. It's just that the accuracy of the meteorite explosive was not good enough. When it bombed into the universe, it just passed by and blew up the strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy again, making his whole body dripping with blood. It looked miserable, but it did not kill him at all. And even the power of the explosion was borrowed by this strong man, pushing him forward to become faster. But this is just the beginning. When 5 explosives of the same type emerge from the subspace one after another, burning with all their power and surging towards the outside world, this zinked the middle-level experts are truly in despair. 5 explosives flew from all directions, which ensured that even if he had speed and Jia Yan's accuracy, they could cover a large area and blast him to death in the starry sky. Jia Yan. You, bastard. Boom. Boom boom boom. In the sky and the earth, a series of explosion sounds and light shined in an instant, and then the bright light and explosion shockwave of 5 large explosives condensed into an extremely terrifying explosion group, and the entire starry sky seemed to be filled with more an extremely terrifying star, with extremely high temperature and energy, spreads out shocking radiation. If there is an ordinary human being here, even if he is 10,000 to 20,000 kilometers away from the explosion site, his body will be damaged by this radiation. Me. At the center of the explosion, the angry but helpless voice quickly stopped, unable to even utter the last words. I know, you also want to say that you are unwilling to give in, right? I understand it so well. If it were me, I would also like to say that you are unwilling to give in. But I'm sorry, this world cannot be resurrected by unwillingness. Jia Yan's human clone body faced the light of the explosion and calmly approached the center of the explosion. Looking at the center, he saw the enemy who was blown to pieces, but because his body was too strong, some corpses were still left behind. The corpse of the strong. His mood didn't change much. He just looked at it indifferently, and then turned his head with emotion and looked at the starry sky on one side. Chia, I have met Lord Jia Yan. It turned out that it was the first-level powerhouse from the galaxy of the Zerg Queen who had suffered some injuries and now came forward with an embarrassed look on his face. Jia Yan smiled. How about it? Before you came out, I told you not to be too ambitious. Now you must be suffering. It's true, thanks to the help of the adults. I just didn't expect that the adults can kill 2 galaxy-level beings with one hand without using their real bodies and just traveling in avatars. There is also a mid-level galaxy among them. I really admire them. The first-level powerhouse of the galaxy, Queen of the Zerg, had a look of admiration on her face. In fact, he is much older than Jia Yan, but because his personality is a bit childish, Jia Yan has become accustomed to calling him boy during the days of getting along with him. This also means a sense of closeness. The other party is still grateful to Jia Yan for almost saving his life, and will definitely have a greater sense of closeness to Jia Yan in the future. He can be regarded as a little loyal subordinate of his. The two of them stood proudly in the void of the universe, looking at the explosive fireball that had been burning and had not melted down for a long time. This scene made the two armies fighting around them completely confused. It seems like our two galactic-level adults are both dead. How is it possible that a middle-level star and a novice star were both beaten to death by a mere clone of Jia Yan? I don't believe it. Why is this happening? We stop not believing it. The adults are all dead. We have no choice but to escape for now. Yes, run away, the sneak attack strategy failed, and two adults died. If we don't run away, we will definitely die. Escape. Large swaths of enemy ships quickly realized their current situation and quickly fled away one by one. They want to escape. Don't let them escape. Yes, Commander-in-Chief Jia Yan personally killed the enemy general. If we let their subordinates escape, how could we have the face to meet you, sir? Haha. These guys have already been frightened. They can't even fight back. What's so scary about such an enemy? Kill. Kill. On the Zerg Queen's fleet side, when they discovered that the enemy troops were beginning to escape on a large scale, they reacted one by one and launched a large-scale pursuit of the entire army. Although there was no help from the two galaxy-level enemies, the enemy was already frightened. They were even more afraid that the two strong men who were watching from the sidelines would come down to the battle group to strangle them again, so they did not dare to fight back at all and just tried to escape. This made it very easy for the Zerg Queen's fleet to stabilize its losses. Facing an enemy that only dared to run away but not fight back, they were like a target, and they couldn't be too comfortable. Therefore, the battle in the starry sky quickly turned into a one-sided battle due to the deaths of two powerful men. However, this one-sided situation was inversely proportional to the enemy's self-confidence when they came. They had never expected that this escape with the party will be them. Ha ha ha, we won, thanks to Lord Jia Yan's appearance, otherwise this fleet would have been killed by their sneak attack. Jia Yan's clone and the injured primary warrior of the galaxy stood in space together, observing the battle situation, but neither of them had any plans to take action. It's not that they don't want to move. Jia Yan's clone was actually completely injured at this moment because he had to control those meteorite explosives, and it was difficult to even move. As for the first-level powerhouse in the galaxy, he had been injured several times. If he wanted to fight now, his injuries would definitely be aggravated. Anyway, the battle has almost been won, and there is no way to let some enemies escape. Without the galaxy-level control, these enemies will be annihilated sooner or later under the pursuit of the Zerg Queen's fleet from other aspects, so they are too lazy to do so. Chaste. Please remember the first domain name of this book. 4novel.com. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2179. You don't need to thank me. This battle is the result of joint efforts. If you didn't consume their energy and attract attention from the side, I can't kill them either. Facing the zinc-level powerhouse thanks, Jia Yan just smiled. For him, it is meaningless to compete for this little credit. After all, in his true form, he can kill such strong men as the first-level and intermediate-level galaxies without many attacks. On the other hand, the junior subordinate of galaxy next to him seems to be about to reach the threshold of being promoted to the intermediate level of galaxy. If he has such a big achievement, he is likely to receive materials from the Zerg Queen and get the opportunity to be promoted. So what Jia Yan said was that he was willing to give him a large part of the credit. Thank you, sir. The other party obviously understood what Jia Yan meant right away, and his gratitude was beyond words. There is no need for the two sides to point it out. If Jia Yan is useful to the other party in the future, he will definitely jump in to help. Otherwise, any discerning person will scold this powerful person at the beginning of the galaxy. The two of them were in the starry sky again, watching the battle for a while. When he saw that the battle situation had entered a simpler pursuit battle, Jia Yan left the battlefield and returned to the battleship on the excuse that the clone's energy consumption was huge. At this moment, everyone on the battleship he was riding on already knew his identity. Seeing his return, almost everyone was silent. Not to mention those who came forward to speak, they almost didn't even dare to breathe. Use force. After all, this lord's identity is too terrifying. He is actually the pinnacle of the mid-level galaxy, and his combat prowess is even vaguely recognized as the #1 master among the three parties in this war. Even the previously recognized strongest black sheep among the Zerg Queen's forces is said to be there. In his hands, Jia Yan was slightly defeated. Such an existence, not to mention the lowest level soldiers such as the Tian level, is even for the semi-star level and star level powerhouses, it is the level of a great god. Being able to see him from a distance several times in his life is already very enviable, but now they have the opportunity to ride on the same ship with him and even talk to him. This is too exciting for them. So everyone was silent, and Jia Yan was happy not to get entangled with others, and returned to his room. Afterwards, everyone seemed to understand that the clone should have withdrawn its energy, and Jia Yan's main focus returned to his real body. Like this, only the big guys dare to make a big noise. However, their mentality had no impact on Jia Yan at all, because just as they guessed, he had withdrawn all his mind into his true body. Sir Jia Yan, I just received a call from the baggage protection unit in the rear. I know about your clone. This is really, oh, sir, thank you for your hard work. Before Jia Yan's real body even started to do what he wanted to do, a mid-level strong man from the galaxy who was responsible for serving as Jia Yan's deputy knocked on the door of his black mist room with a little surprise, and then expressed to him the meaning of wonder. You know, Jia Yan's behavior of not caring about things every day has actually made some senior officials dissatisfied recently. But now, they know that Jia Yan's clone has done such a big thing. With only the help of the clone and a strong person from the beginning of the galaxy, they killed an intermediate star of the galaxy and the star who came into their rear. The primary existence also includes a not-so-weak fleet, which is a wake-up call for those who blame Jia Yan. As Jia Yan's deputy, he was also happy about this, because after walking out, no one would say why he didn't persuade the commander-in-chief. I haven't seen the commander-in-chief. Isn't he not paying attention to things at all, but using his clone to continue working silently? You know, this is still the place where an incident occurred. Even if an incident did not occur, the commander-in-chief might also be distracted and watching. How can anyone criticize this? Whoever dares to say that Mr. Jia Yan doesn't care about things, then his deputy will do it himself. Oh, do you already know about this? Haha, it's just a trivial matter, not worth mentioning. It's the galaxy novice who fights with me. Give him most of the rewards for this battle. It's useless for me to ask for it, but this guy can take it. Come and advance to the intermediate level of the galaxy. When Jia Yan heard the deputy's words, he waved his hands indifferently, as if this was just a boring trip he had made at the last minute. My lord is really kind-hearted, so that's what I'll do, then I'll retire. My lord, have a good rest. The deputy left happily, no longer showing any hint of urging Jia Yan to do his work. This is also a good excuse for Jia Yan. Jia Yan is already thinking about whether he can say that he is concentrating on his clone's work in the future when he asks him to go to work or something other than important matters. Will he be able to escape the heavy workload of being the commander-in-chief? It's not a bad idea. Jia Yan, on the other hand, actually regarded this trip as just a fun trip. Even the act of killing two enemy generals was just an unexpected surprise, and it didn't seem to be too much of a surprise to him. If he really wants to kill the enemy's galaxy class, with Jia Yan's subspace talent, just like he did when he first returned to the starry sky, fly to the starry sky behind the enemy and squat on the only road that the galaxy class must pass, 1 or 2 galaxies. Why don't you let yourself kill a super powerful person? So he doesn't have many surprises. But he never expected that the baggage fleet he saved this time would actually bring him a piece of news that he valued. In other words, it's a top secret piece of information. Lord Jiayan, I just went to contact the commander of the rescued baggage fleet. Unexpectedly, he brought a piece of surprising information. I feel that this information is extremely important to you, so I came here to convey it to you. You. Not long after Jia Yan returned to his true form, he did not expect that the first-level powerhouse of the galaxy who had bid farewell to him would return to the outside of the battleship where his avatar was and ask Jia Yan for an audience. The clone was not completely without any sense. After receiving the sound transmission from this powerful man's brainwave power, Jia Yan was slightly shocked and came back to his senses. At the same time, the eyes of his human clone opened, looking very curious. After a moment, the clone stood up and flew out of the battleship. Outside the battleship, the first-level strong man from the galaxy who had just left was still injured and didn't even look like he had to deal with it. He actually hurried to him to report. What happened? Seeing his gesture, Jia Yan knew that things might not be that simple. Moreover, the bigger point of this incident must be that it has an impact on him personally. Otherwise, if it were a major event for the entire army, this strong man would definitely inform the entire army or pass it to the general headquarters instead of coming to him first. Talk privately. Sir, I just learned a piece of information from the captain of the baggage fleet, about His Excellency Black Sheep. While the powerful man at the beginning of the galaxy spoke, he kept looking at the expression of Jia Yan, the tiny human clone. He was observing the attitude of this clone. If there was a hint of flinching and fear, then this powerful person at the beginning of the galaxy would also have other thoughts. Oh! Black Sheep! After hearing this, Jia Yan's whole expression changed. This is too normal. For Jia Yan, a strong man, among the entire Zerg Queen's forces, the strong man who deserves his attention the most is Black Sheep. What's more, Black Sheep himself has been attacking the Domain Lord's strength recently, and both sides have with a grudge. It is natural that Jia Yan would be moved if there was any movement from the Black Sheep. Yes, Black Sheep, sir. It is said that Your Excellency Black Sheep has recently expressed his momentum and is ready to break through. Moreover, the commander of the baggage fleet once received an answer from Black Sheep's ministers, saying that Black Sheep himself had promised to his ministers, with this promotion, even if he cannot be promoted to the territory lord level in one go, he is absolutely sure that he can break through a certain level of strength. He is not even a territory lord, but he can step onto that threshold. It only takes a while to grind. With a little effort, you can become a real domain lord. To be honest, the expression on Jia Yan's face was still somewhat dissatisfying to the junior powerhouse of the galaxy in front of him, because after he was rescued by Jia Yan, he was effectively branded as Jia Yan, and everyone knew that Jia Yan and He, the relationship between sheep is like fire and water. If Jia Yan could be a little less drastic when he learned the news that Black Sheep was about to be promoted, this strong man would still have some confidence in Jia Yan, but now, Jia Yan simply looked ugly. Yes, Jia Yan looked ugly. And there is no pretense at all. After all, from his point of view, the first-level powerhouse in the galaxy in front of him is just an ordinary person. He saved the other party's life. Jia Yan did not regard the other party as his subordinate, so Ding Zheng is be solemn and don't have to pretend to be anything. Besides, if you don't reach the peak of the intermediate galaxy, you won't understand the true terror of the territory lord. Is Black Sheep going to start to be promoted? When he first returned to the energy circle last time, it seemed that he had no idea of preparing to break through. Did he not expect that he would be able to break through so soon? No, it may be my influence. In addition, he told his close ministers that if his promotion was unsuccessful, he would also step onto the threshold of the territory lord. In other words, he was absolutely confident. It seems that I have read from the literature that under this mode, even if you fail, you can still step into the half-foot threshold. You can call it a half-domain master, but this so-called half-domain master is not like a half-star level, it belongs to a large level, half-domain masters, and even numbers not much. As the name suggests, this half-domain lord has a lot of background, but he has not been promoted to the level of the powerful domain lord in one breath. They don't need to practice. Naturally, they will pass through it in a few years or even a few months. After passing this level, you will completely step onto the threshold of a domain lord. So, Black Sheep is at least confident that it can reach the strength of a semi-region lord. Thinking of this, Jia Yan was not in a good mood. After all, even the strength of a half-domain lord is impossible for him to resist, because the so-called half-domain lord can definitely be treated as an ordinary domain lord. Although the combat effectiveness will be a bit lower, but it is still the domain lord category. When the time comes, if Black Sheep takes action against him, the Queen of Zerg will not necessarily care. I understand. This matter is very important to me. I will take good care of it. If there is an opportunity in the future, I will repay you. Jia Yan nodded solemnly to the first-level powerhouse from the galaxy who had given him important information. This information was given in a timely manner. Although even without his notification, Jia Yan would have obtained this information within a few days, but these few days are also time, because if Black Sheep succeeds in breaking through in these few days, and then territory lord level magical powers were flying towards his war zone. It is very likely that when he gets the information, it will be the time for the Black Sheep to arrive, and Jia Yan will be caught off guard. You don't need to thank me, sir. This is just a simple task. I believe you have to prepare for it next, so I won't disturb you. Seeing Jia Yan deep in thought, the powerful man at the first level of the galaxy immediately retreated with a smile. Jia Yan looked at the Zinged novice. He understood in his heart that the other party telling this information at such an important moment was equivalent to repaying his life-saving grace. It was not considered a gain or loss, it could only be said that, the fate between the two parties is just that. Okay, now that this guy's matter is gone, I can ignore other things and prepare how the city will deal with this matter. Jia Yan shook his head slightly, then flew back to the battleship, locked his clone in the room, and immediately switched back to his real body. Find bookstore. Buzz. The spirit squirmed for a while, and the giant mosquito that had just focused a large part of his energy on his body suddenly came back to his senses. Black Sheep is preparing to be promoted, and since even the commander of the baggage fleet knows the information, the matter must have reached a very close juncture. In addition, the baggage fleet may have been flying in the interstellar space for several days, or even half a year. Months, at this moment, Black Sheep must have already entered seclusion. If everything goes well, there is a chance that he will become the territory lord. There was a sudden thought in my heart, and then I took a breath and shook my head in denial. Impossible. I have also learned about the territory lord's breakthrough. After all, I am also the one who will face this level. Generally speaking, a smooth territory lord's breakthrough will take a month no matter how fast it is. And since Black Sheep is here, he told his subordinates beforehand that he might become a half-domain master, which shows that he has a plan in his heart, and even went for the half-domain master. After all, even if he becomes a half-domain master, it is equivalent to becoming a half-domain master lord, and the time it takes him to become a half-domain lord will be greatly shortened, and then the enemies he wants to attack will have no time to react. And that enemy is probably me. Jia Yan chuckled. He was originally in a good mood, but after hearing this information, he became not so good. Because the word territory lord is like the weight of Mount Tai, making people breathless. The same was true for Jia Yan. When he heard these two words, especially the person who became a domain lord, it was likely that he was his archenemy Black Sheep. He felt a strong sense of crisis in his heart. Wrong. But when these senses of crisis were magnified to the extreme, even prompting Jia Yan to turn around and leave the battlefield and give up his position as commander-in-chief, his face suddenly became pale. Please remember the first domain name of this book. 4novel.com. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2180. Jia Yan's eyes with a hint of fear quickly froze for a moment, and then, looking a little embarrassed, he forced himself to calm down. My reaction has a lot to do with the fact that I have fought against several territory lords before and was hunted down by them. After all, I have personally witnessed the terror of territory lords, but if I think about it carefully, if I had not witnessed the territory lords, how strong, just like the first time I encountered the domain lord's pursuit, that is, before I reached the battle in the galaxy's central star region, I still wanted to test and see how strong the domain lord was. Jia Yan didn't think of any solution, but reflected on his own mentality. Those who don't know are fearless. When he was just promoted to the intermediate galaxy, he killed 2 intermediate galaxy. After waiting, he had a pursuit battle with the coming territory lord. Then, his mentality was shaken a bit by being hunted down several times. After he recognized the gap between himself and the territory lord, or even the middle-level peak powerhouse of the galaxy, he didn't know when the shadow of the territory lord's existence began to appear. It was deeply engraved in his heart. Up to now, he had not been directly threatened by the existence of the territory lord for a long time, and he directly regarded this existence as an absolutely impossible object in his heart. In other words, he was full of fear. So when I just heard that Black Sheep had begun the final push, and that even if he was not promoted to territory lord, he would become a half-territory lord, he immediately had the idea of absconding in fear of crime. But, this idea is wrong. I am a little mosquito that walked out of the earth. I have always been fearless. Why am I still afraid when I have reached the top of the middle level of the galaxy where I can be considered a strong person wherever I go? What about people who are only 1 level higher than me? It's not even certain whether there can even be 1 level higher than me. Jia Yan suddenly felt ridiculous. When did he become so afraid of death? Ha ha ha, the stronger you are, the more greedy and afraid of death you are? No wonder, I always feel that my improvement speed has slowed down a bit recently, and even the momentum in my heart has restrained a lot. It turns out that this is my own courage and face. My perseverance in life and death has weakened. He thought about it, and then felt ridiculous at his own uselessness. When the territory lord who was very close to him charged over, he, a little mosquito who had just been promoted to the middle level of galaxy, dared not be afraid. But now, I have reached the pinnacle of the intermediate galaxy, and my combat effectiveness is definitely much stronger than before, but I have become timid. Even the news that an opponent who is thousands of miles away is preparing to be promoted will scare me to the point of peeing. Ha ha ha, Jia Yan, the more you live, the more you go back. When he thought about it, he laughed at himself a few times, and then became calm and composed. Yes, he didn't want to leave. When Black Sheep was promoted, he was also at the semi-domain lord level, and his combat effectiveness was definitely inferior to that of a real domain lord. He, a person who had even met real domain lords and endured their moves, needed to be afraid of being like this. Thinking of this, Jia Yan even wondered whether the news of Black Sheep's promotion was deliberately revealed to him in order to let him escape on his own initiative. It's very possible, because even if he was promoted to the semi-domain lord level, he still found me troublesome, so he asked me to leave on my own initiative. If I leave the law in such a dejected manner, I will never have the shame to come back in the future, so he will. It's like losing a big enemy like me. Black Sheep, really easy to scheme. Of course Jia Yan knew that if he stayed, he might face a being with combat power that was close to that of a domain lord. But Black Sheep forcing him to leave like this showed that the Queen of the Zerg had definitely come to him and told him that even though Black Sheep, even if he is promoted successfully, he will not be allowed to kill Jia Yan. At most, it's just like Jia Yan's last time. Don't be afraid, it doesn't matter if you compete with the immortals. Besides, my fighting ability has been drastically improved compared to when I ran for my life when I met the Domain Lord. I have also succeeded in using all kinds of killer tricks. I can't face the previous one who has not yet arrived in the domain. What do newly promoted people with mastery of strength have to fear? Jia Yan finally figured everything out, and then he sneered without any fear. However, knowing that Black Sheep was about to be promoted, Jia Yan should not have a place for him in the Zerg Queen's power in the future. Jia Yan felt that he should make some preparations early. Even if the Zerg Queen intends to maintain the balance of power among her subordinates in the future, it will be useless. After all, Black Sheep has successfully become the territory lord. In a certain sense, she has become equal to the Zerg Queen herself, and her binding force will be absolute. Is greatly reduced. I have done so much for the Zerg Queen, so, next I ask for the reward I deserve. Is it nothing? The Zerg Queen shouldn't say anything, as long as what I take is in it's just within her acceptance range. Jia Yan sat down again. He didn't know how fast the Black Sheep would arrive, but he couldn't delay his preparation any longer. Otherwise, when he left in despair, he would be empty-handed. Then wouldn't all the busy work during this period be worth it? A waste of energy and time. When he returned to the power of the Zerg Queen, the first thing he had to do was to fight the Black Sheep, and it was best to get revenge. But the problem is, after the battle with Black Sheep, he found that he still couldn't get revenge, and at best he could win the battle by luck. Then there is no choice but to remember this grudge. Another thing about returning is something that is good for itself. For example, among the Zerg Queen's forces, there will be more resources for training, and there will be more strong people to exchange skills and experience. In addition, there are battles with enemies of similar strength to help you find the right direction with your newly promoted strength. It can be said that Jia Yan has completed most of these things after becoming the commander-in-chief of the war. In terms of communication, there are two mid-level peak powerhouses in the galaxy who are similar to himself in strength. They flank his army. The three powerhouses often open remote communication platforms to communicate on training and combat. The battle with the enemy was also successful. He repeatedly forced the strong men at the middle level of the galaxy to fight with all their strength. He had already understood the path and direction of the middle-level peak powerhouses in the galaxy, and even gradually formulated his own plan to lead to the territory lord. The main road, this can be regarded as achieving the goal. The only thing missing is resources. Although he had cultivated along the way and had enough resources, and he could even squander them for a while, but after he came here, he had to grab all these resources through his own commercial star, all his efforts fetched. In theory, this should be his. So until now, he has helped the Zerg Queen control the overall situation. He has been the commander-in-chief of the war for so long, but he has not received any compensation. So, I have to ask for a reward. Of course, I can't make the Zerg Queen disgusted. I have to know the right amount. But I can't suffer a loss either. Jia Yan began to imagine whether he was going to go to the frontline army supply depot and extract a bunch of supplies, or whether he was going to find a retreating planet that was preparing to dig up supplies, grab a handful and leave. However, these two methods are not very good. Extracting them directly from military supplies is something that is already distributed after you get it, and you go and get it yourself. Not only is it a waste of manpower, it will also make too many people know about it. It would be bad if the whole army's people's hearts were in a state of confusion. As for grabbing the retreating planet, Jia Yan thinks it's too late. If Black Sheep is really just practicing in seclusion to reach the semi-domain master level, and he is so confident, it means that he is definitely just one step away. When he comes, it can be said that there is not enough time to really go to certain planets to grab resources. Hey, speaking of resources, the baggage fleet that I protected in the past seems to have a lot of resources, and these resources have not been allocated to any team. I extracted them in the name of the Commander-in-Chief. It won't affect others at all, and even if we ask them to keep it secret in the name of military terms, maybe it won't be spread too widely, so everyone's face will be saved and military morale will not fluctuate. Jia Yan felt that he was too smart. Just do it like this: the clone happens to be there, and let the clone carry it back from the subspace without anyone noticing. Buzz. After Jia Yanzhen finished thinking about those events, he simply kept talking without hesitation, letting his spirit return to his clone. Then, it didn't take much time for the clone to fly out of the vacuum of space, and under the gaze of a large group of adoring eyes, arrived at the baggage fleet that had been watching the battle for a long time behind the starry sky where they had fought earlier. I've met Commander-in-Chief Jia Yan. When he saw the great god Jia Yan arriving in person, the commander of the baggage team, a star-level expert, quickly came forward to greet him. Although it is just a baggage fleet, this fleet still has some strength. Otherwise, the escort in the starry sky may really be in danger. After all, the universe is too big. Even the so-called densely populated central star field of the Milky Way, absolutely part of it. The area is still a vacuum. Any warships and fleets traveling into the starry sky may be attacked by sneak attacks, so strong men are indispensable. You are very good. You protected the interests of the fleet earlier. Jia Yan didn't even bother to find out why the stellar captain didn't step forward and join the battle group during the previous battle. After all, this kind of thing is a bad debt. He asked. The fleet commander could say that he wanted to protect the supplies, or that there were enemy troops around him who were watching him. In short, there could be many excuses. So it's better to praise him directly. After all, Jia Yan will ask him for it next. Lord Jia Yan is so complimentary, I deserve it. This star-level being thought that Jia Yan would definitely scold him, but he unexpectedly received praise from Jia Yan. He suddenly felt that Jia Yan, the commander-in-chief of the war, was worthy of being able to compete with Black Sheep. He was confident. It's just different. But not long after chatting with him, Jia Yan directly proposed to use his clone to take away some of the supplies carried by the fleet. This stellar powerhouse suddenly realized. Damn it, Jia Yan was so friendly to me because he wanted to carry supplies from his fleet. Master Jia Yan, it's not that I won't give it, but I have military orders. If I give it, it may be my responsibility in the future. You don't have to worry about this. I am the commander-in-chief of this entire war. Why don't you let me distribute the materials you transport to the front line? Sooner or later, no one will hold you accountable for this. I'm just anxious to use this batch of supplies. Jia Yan's reasoning can be said to be sound and clear, with no flaws at all. Anyone who listens will find it reasonable. After all, it is indeed the case. The person who transports the materials to the front line and distributes them in the end is Jia Yan. Even if Jia Yan wants to be greedy, no one can stop him. In this case, it's better to just be a favor. Okay, Lord Jia Yan, I'll help you. I don't know what supplies you need. I'll take you to get them. He didn't ask Jia Yan how he carried it. After all, the commander-in-chief Jia Yan's subspace talent was already well known to everyone in the Zerg Queen's power. Everyone knew that this powerful man had a weird talent. And it also has its own dimensional pocket. I'll go pick it up. Just take me over and take a look. Jia Yan breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that the guy in front of him would refuse to give him anything. Now it seemed that he was overthinking it. After all, he was a commander-in-chief of war. The supplies for a baggage fleet, or the supplies for 100 baggage fleets, can change the direction of travel with just one word from him. Of course, this does not mean that a baggage fleet does not have enough supplies. In fact, the supplies in this baggage fleet are enough to make Jia Yan drool for a while. It is just that such a large amount of supplies has been given to countless people. This will not be enough for practitioners, big or small. I only need something with high energy, whether it's minerals or high-level energy used in cultivation. Jia Yan first determined the nature of the supplies he wanted. The commander of the baggage fleet took a deep look at Jia Yan and seemed to sense something. After all, he was the one who conveyed the information that Black Sheep was practicing. He had just told the information to the strong man at the beginning of the galaxy. Not long after, the commander-in-chief Jia Yan himself came anxiously to ask for supplies. What do you think of this? There is some connection between the two. But he had no intention of getting to the bottom of it. There were some things where it was better to be confused than to be shrewd. Okay, I'll take you over to take a look. Among this batch of supplies, the transport ship is all high-level energy, and part of it is to provide you with galaxy-level training supplies. The other side is star-level energy. Some of them are even close to the level of star cores, but they are just some kind of strange minerals. This stellar powerhouse explained a large number of material types to Jia Yan. In fact, he believed that if Jia Yan really wanted to be greedy for ink, he would probably need some energy, because for ordinary strong men, almost all minerals must be converted by other methods, or used as training. No matter how powerful the energy used in weapons and the like is, it is difficult to convert without special tools and equipment, so Jia Yan should not be in trouble, as long as he has high-level energy. Please remember the first domain name of this book. 4novel.com. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2181. But it turns out that Jia Yan seems to be also very interested in these high-grade minerals. These are very good. Move them all to the outside of the universe. I will collect them later. In addition, I will also take out the high-level energy in the transport ship. I don't want the other garbage. Jia Yan is very picky. It's good to use power for personal gain, but if he really moves the things that are of no use to him, it will be difficult for him to move them all, let alone his clone, or even his real body. The supplies of a transport fleet are unimaginably huge, and most of them are ordinary supplies, such as living equipment. These are useful for ordinary life, but for a mid-level galaxy powerhouse like Jia Yan, they are just it's no use at all. What he wants is energy, energy that can push him one step further in the future. Yes. Sometime later, under the greeting of the fleet commander, all the supplies in the entire supply fleet were counted. Among them, the most valuable items with the greatest energy content were all carried by the soldiers in the fleet below, and transported to the vacuum of the outside universe. The actions here have attracted the attention of all the members of the surrounding transport ships. Even the huge team of warships that were guarding the battle that had just been fought further away also had people running over to watch. As long as they knew that the person who asked the air pressure quasi-fleet to do this was none other than Jia Yan, a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, and also the commander-in-chief of the entire war front line, no one among them wanted to get involved in this matter. Status and strength are the reasons why Jia Yan can do whatever he wants. Okay, I will take these things away, and you can escort the other supplies. Yes. Although the supplies Jia Yan took away were all high grade, in terms of value, they only accounted for 1/3 of the value of the entire supply fleet. There was no way, he could not take away much, and other low-value items, even if the value of something is low, the greater the quantity, the higher the value. But Jia Yan doesn't want that much. If he is really greedy, the most valuable thing would be to transport the entire planet away if he has the ability, but he can't do that. I'm leaving. You have done a great job. If there is an opportunity in the future, I will give you a certain reward. Jia Yan looked at the stellar commander waiting beside him and smiled. Then, he stretched out his arm. Buzz buzz. Under the astonished gazes of all the surrounding creatures, they were sorted out by everyone and turned into a pile of huge materials, which were then wrapped in a large area of distortion. Then, the twisted land gradually swallowed up this piece of material, and none of it was left, and it was swallowed directly into the subspace. Awesome, these things cover an area of 30 or 40 kilometers, and such a clone can be transported to the inner space. Nonsense, this is the war commander of our Zerg Queen's force. Even if he is just a clone, he can kill the middle-level galactic people. Isn't this kind of strength abnormal? The soldiers and onlookers around were all whispering, shocked by the subdimensional ability of Jia Yan's clone. However, what is very difficult for them is actually nothing to ordinary strong men above the star level. They have already been able to put their bodies into the subspace and want to achieve similar results. It's not too difficult, so it won't be too shocking. Of course, considering that Jia Yan's avatar is obviously preparing to transport so many supplies, travel through multiple subspaces, and transport them long distances to the base camp, it will be difficult, and they can't do it. You're welcome, sir. This is what we should do. The commander spoke very respectfully to Jia Yan. Well, see you later. Jia Yan nodded, and then he himself moved forward and stepped into the subspace. All the creatures felt that in the surrounding subspace, a huge piece of material was gradually moving away. Gone. He's really gone. What a legendary figure. This incident is worth remembering for a lifetime. Such a great and powerful man is right in front of us, fighting with his clones. He seemed to have glanced at me just now. It is definitely worth remembering for a lifetime. Me too. Everyone stared blankly at the direction where Jia Yan's clone left. Everyone felt very lucky in their hearts. Only the commander and the first-level warriors from the galaxy in the previous battle fleet were also in a trance. Both of them guessed something, and they both felt that Jia Yan, the recently famous powerhouse among the Zerg Queen's forces, would probably be hard to see again in the future. At least in a short period of time, it will be difficult to see each other, and I don't know what will happen when we meet again in the future. Yin yin yin. Hey, it's such a large amount of supplies. Although it can't compare to what I did on the commercial star, it's not much different. After transporting them back, they can be mixed with those brought from the commercial star. And then leave the local area. No, I still remember that in the energy circle of the Zerg Queen's power, there is a planet that I like. That planet has the ability to move in subspace. It is still an environment that Edisha wants to control. She will not go back. What can I do? Jia Yan thought for a moment. Then he let out a long breath. In fact, he was still unwilling to do so. After leaving the Zerg Queen's force, he became a rootless duckweed. A force in this strange central star field of the Milky Way is a good kind of help. If Jia Yan leaves, he will either begin to officially enter the category of wandering, or join other forces, but it is likely that the treatment and trust will not be as good as the Zerg Queen's force. But it is impossible not to leave, because Jia Yan is not strong enough to stand on a foothold with Black Sheep. In other words, if he really had Domain Lord level strength, he wouldn't have to rely on the Zerg Queen's power. It would be enough to open a power of his own. That's all, I'm only one level short. Besides, I'm gradually familiar with the central star field of the Milky Way. I no longer need the external help of the Zerg Queen. As for that planet, go back and get it? I don't believe it. I'm under the eyes of the Zerg Queen. She will watch the Black Sheep kill her? Besides, can't I run? The more Jia Yan figured out his advantages, the more he felt that it was impossible for a semi-domain lord alone to kill him in one fell swoop. So his fear subsided and his courage grew. But now, thinking of returning to the energy circle of the Zerg Queen's power, facing the black sheep instead of running away directly, a thrilling feeling arises spontaneously, and at the same time, the excitement that has not been felt for a long time also wells up in my heart. In this way, I don't have to let the clone rush to the real body, but can directly return to the direction of the energy circle, and the real body will fly over to catch it. Jia Yan thought of it and did it, letting the clone fly directly in the direction of the energy circle. In the dark fog on the front line, Jia Yan's true body stood up. In such a short period of time, he had adjusted his true body to a functional state where the energy was the most powerful and fully prepared. Hey, black sheep, you didn't come here. I'm going to come to you now to see how you deal with me. The so-called evil tendency is the current state of Jia Yan. He feels that he has figured it out. If he does not face a danger or a threat from a creature similar to the Territory Lord, he will probably be promoted to the Territory Lord in the future. When I was young, I developed a fearful mentality, which led to me failing to get promoted. It would be better to take advantage of the fact that Black Sheep is only a half-domain lord, no matter how strong he is, go to his location and confront him face to face. Anyway, with the Zerg Queen by his side, there must be no danger. I'm going out for a trip. I may or may not come back. Here are some of my arrangements for the next battle, as well as adjustments to the strong ones. To be honest, the current situation is already very good. You just need to retreat step by step. Even in the near future, a semi-domain lord will come to help, so you don't have to fight in the early stage, and things in the future will definitely be reversed in a better direction. Jia Yan took out the communicator, and did not use voice or the like. Instead, he left a message. Then, he no longer cared about whether the senior executives who received these messages had replied or not. He gathered the supplies around him and then moved. The huge giant mosquito body also dived into the subspace. The real body is an existence that is infinitely more powerful than the clone's subspace talent, so as soon as he enters the subspace, he causes distortion around the body, quickly sending himself into the deep subspace, and then surges a large amount of energy. The surrounding energy caused the subspace to envelop the materials behind it, causing lightning and flint to fly. Jia Yan's departure was inexplicable, and he did it simply. However, the news of his departure quickly caused a certain shock among the senior management who received his last communication message. Jia Yan is gone? What's going on? I know, it seems that the news came from Black Sheep, saying that he is preparing to be promoted to the semi-domain master level. You see, Jia Yan also said it in the intelligence. Obviously, he received the intelligence earlier than me. Black Sheep wanted to be promoted, and he ran away. I didn't expect Jia Yan to be such a coward. Hey, don't talk about others. You are a middle-level being in the galaxy, let alone a domain lord. If you find out that you have offended a strong man at the top of the middle-level galaxy, will you escape? Maybe you are better than Jia Yan. Adults need to run away quickly, so stop gossiping behind your back. This is a very bad way to behave. Okay, I know I said the wrong thing, and overall I still think this person is good, but it's hard to imagine that someone like him would be afraid. Who doesn't have something to be afraid of? A group of high-level officials, such as the two mid-level peak flank commanders of the galaxy with the same strength as Jia Yan, as well as the large and small battle formation commanders, all sighed when they heard the news. Those among them who collected intelligence faster actually also knew the news that Black Sheep was preparing to be promoted. Some of them were originally thinking about whether to dedicate the information to Jia Yan. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan was faster than them. When they were thinking about whether when the information was given, he himself began to run away. Fortunately, before Jia Yan left, the situation in this front-line war zone had been almost stabilized by him. What he had to do next was actually just as Jia Yan said, maintain the current situation, even if he moves back a little. It's okay, because if Black Sheep really develops into a half-domain master, then he who is eager to use a battle to stabilize his strength and show off at the same time will definitely come to the front line, and the entire battle situation will become worse. Stabilized quickly. It's just that none of these beings know that Jia Yan, who arranged all this, actually didn't escape to the outside world as they thought. Instead, follow the route from the energy circle and return again. Half a month later, Jia Yan received the clone that was flying halfway and let the clone enter the Edisha. At the same time, he integrated a large amount of supplies into the large amount of supplies behind him, creating a space that was 100 kilometers away. Existing like a huge material planet, it continues to fly towards the energy circle of the Zerg Queen's power. In fact, he doesn't really believe in the Zerg Queen, but after all, the Zerg Queen has been fair so far, so on the surface, he still trusts the Zerg Queen. Of course, he will definitely keep a certain backup. For example, when Jia Yan was passing through an asteroid belt, he found Shiyuan M and did not hesitate to waste a certain amount of time to fly to the outside world. Then, with the supreme energy he possessed after being promoted to the peak of the middle level of the galaxy, he could hardly life after time. It dragged 3 asteroids that were hundreds of kilometers in size into subspace. Then, during the flight of these 3 asteroids, they quickly transformed into positive and negative forces. At the same time, Jia Yan also used some small creative improvements to give all 3 of them a hint of magic weapon effect. That is to say, the energy is not consumed so quickly, and even if they are only used for collision, they may lose their effectiveness after being used only once. This is just Jia Yan's attempt, and it is not perfect at all, but he feels that as long as he continues to use these skills, one day in the future, these yin-yang sect magical weapons that he has made may really be successful, and they may even be able to help. Fight by yourself. In short, with these 3 powerful explosives, his self-confidence has increased. Even if there is a domain lord who attacks me, if I explode a section of my body as a speed booster, and then use this asteroid to cut off my back, I must be able to escape even in a head-on battle, right? Jia Yan's last word BA showed that he still had no bottom, but this feeling of no bottom was because he was facing the Queen of the Zerg, but not a half-domain lord creature. If Black Sheep is promoted to half-domain master, Jia Yan feels that even using the asteroid's tactics can hurt him a little, and there is absolutely no problem in escaping. This puts him at ease. Go back and get the planet and leave. By the way, it's best to say some harsh words. And the time he traveled did not last long. After starting from the front line and constantly wasting time along the way, training on asteroids, organizing supplies, etc., it only took him about a month to arrive. The place of energy circle of the Zerg Queen's power. Please remember the first domain name of this book. 4novel.com. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2182. Came back. Jia Yan unloaded the supplies he had brought while he was about hundreds of millions of miles away from the energy circle. Moreover, these materials are unloaded at the depth of 3 layers of subspace. Generally speaking, unless there is a person with subspace talents passing by, it is difficult for a strong person who does not know the specific location to search for these materials even if he deliberately comes to search. After everything was safe, Jia Long adjusted his strength again, returned to his peak state, and then resolutely flew towards the energy circle spread out by the Zerg Queen. Buzz buzz. Hu. Inside the subspace, Jia Yan's traveling distance is getting slower and slower. This is out of respect for the energy circle, because arriving here is equivalent to entering the core area of the Zerg Queen's power. If nothing unexpected, he is close to the Zerg Queen's power. Within 500,000 kilometers, the Zerg Queen, a super domain lord with astonishing strength, had already discovered his traces. Of course, this is because Jia Yan let go of his whereabouts. If he really entered the deep levels of subspace and moved quietly, it would be difficult for ordinary domain owners to detect him. Jia Yan, you are back. When Jia Yan finally flew out to the first level of subspace step by step, making many strong people feel him, a female voice rang in his mind. This is the message from the Zerg Queen. Yes, I'm back. Is Her Majesty the Queen okay? I'm fine, Jia Yan, you came back at the wrong time. There was a deep sense of helplessness in the words of the Zerg Queen. In fact, as a superior, it is very, very tiring for her to deal with such conflicting issues among capable subordinates, especially since he was slightly on the side of Black Sheep at first, but now Jia Yan is still helping the front line regardless of past grudges. She fights, which to a strong man is like taking advantage of others, and she feels bad about it. Now, she had vaguely guessed the purpose of Jia Yan's return, but the problem was, inside the entire energy circle, earth-shattering power surged. It was an aura that only belonged to the intermediate level and above. That's right, Black Sheep happened to have improved its strength 2 days ago. Now it can't contain its strength, so the entire energy circle is no longer the energy circle of the Zerg Queen. It has become completely full of Black Sheep's power. With Your Majesty the Queen, I also know that my coming back may make it difficult for you, but I am just here to pick up my own things and leave after taking them. Your Majesty the Queen will still be my friend from now on. Jia Yan didn't even bother to say anything more specifically to the Zerg Queen, because if he said more, he would hurt his feelings, because it would inevitably involve how the Zerg Queen was partial, so he could only stop talking and let the other party know. Even if you make mistakes, you won't hurt the other person's face. At least for Jia Yan, he has no intention of blaming the Zerg Queen. Jia Yan has a good idea of what he should do when he is in a high position, not to mention that the Zerg Queen has helped him a lot. The Zerg Queen seemed to be silent for a while, and then continued to transmit the message to Jia Yan. I made some mistakes in the past, Jia Yan. At least this time, I will let you go. Black Sheep can't hurt your life. When he said these words, Jia Yan already felt a feeling of power that was completely overriding the energy circle. This is the self-confidence of the Zerg Queen. Even though Black Sheep's so-called promotion is an earth-shattering change in strength, it is not enough for her. She is a powerful territory lord. In the Zerg territory, she fought against all the invincible opponents in the world. In this starry sky, she is also one of the masters among territory lords. She is a newly promoted half-territory lord. Not enough for her. The Black Sheep cannot kill the people the Zerg Queen wants to protect. Besides, it is impossible for the Zerg Queen to let Black Sheep kill Jia Yan. If Black Sheep did it, her status would plummet. This force should not be called the Zerg Queen Force, but should be called the Black Sheep Force. Thank you very much, Queen. I will take the planet and leave. Jia Yan replied, and then, his figure was directly outside the energy circle, stepping out of the subspace in one step. Huh? Who? Is there someone so close to the energy circle that I didn't notice? Who will be the existence coming from the subspace? Ah, he is not that. It's him. No wonder he's so talented in subspace, but, there's something good to see. Inside and outside the energy circle, there are far more powerful people than before. Among these strong men, a small half are adventurers who followed the Zerg Queen and came to this starry sky from the distant Zerg territory. The other large part has various origins. Some of them are local strong men, and some are local strong men. They came from hearing that this force was recruiting strong men, and some were enemy traders who stayed in the Zerg Queen's territory after surrendering. In short, these beings have made the Zerg Queen's energy circle, which was originally small in number, very crowded. If nothing else goes wrong, the Zerg Queen's force will continue to absorb blood from the outside world in the future. Because of the presence of two domain masters, this force will even take off for a period of time in the future. But Jia Yan can't see that time, at least he won't be able to enjoy the dividends of taking off with them. Because another future territory lord in the Zerg Queen's force, that is, Black Sheep, is Jia Yan's biggest enemy. Puff. Just as Jia Yan stood outside the energy circle with the ability to identify technology automatically opened a huge opening for Jia Yan to enter. Just entering the energy circle, the familiar smell and energy in the energy circle caused the bristles on his mosquitoes, which are similar to human pores, to stretch out. The energy circle created by the Zerg Queen not only improves the purity of energy and makes the environment elegant, but also has the advantage of maintaining the sense of energy environment in the distant Zerg territory. Although the Orion arm from Jia Yan is also very similar to the Zerg territory. It's far away, but it's still much closer than the central region of the Milky Way, so the entire energy circle feels like returning to half of my hometown. In fact, one of the reasons why Jia Yan misses the energy circle is the familiarity it gives him. It's a pity that after today, he will no longer be able to enjoy this taste of hometown. Jia Yan? Aren't you on the front line? What are you doing back here? When Jia Yan entered the energy circle, no one came to greet him, not even the Zerg Queen's men came over. Instead, a middle-level galactic powerhouse who was friends with the Black Sheep flew in front of Jia Yan with a joking look on his face. Looking at him. Long time no see. I have something to do when I come back. Jia Yan was neither humble nor overbearing, and he didn't think the other person was someone close to Black Sheep, so he frowned and glared at him. Haha, I have something to do. It's good to have something to do. Mr. Black Sheep will also ask you for something later. Don't go so fast. The other party sneered, and then stepped away without even speaking to Jia Yan Duo. Jia Yan just watched the strong man leave, but did not express whether he should leave or not. And the other person was not prepared to listen to his answer. Now that everyone is back, the Black Sheep Jia Yan can be seen or not seen. As soon as I come back, will all these familiar strong men refuse to show up? It's quite interesting. Jia Yan looked around, and then one by one the strong men, even those who were relatively familiar with Jia Yan, quietly shrank their heads, not daring to talk to him. He couldn't help but laugh at himself, thinking that at the beginning, he had figured out some things and thought he wanted to socialize. But look, the result of socializing was this. Jia Yan didn't mean that social interaction was bad, but he quickly figured out that this world is real, social interaction is social interaction, multiple friends do have multiple paths, but people still pay attention to the relationship of interests. Jia Yan and they were casual acquaintances, and no one would stand up to fight against the enemy with him at this time. So, it is most difficult for people's hearts. Jia Yan didn't feel unhappy or sad. Too many similar things had happened. Moreover, he really didn't treat others sincerely, and he wouldn't expect false kindness from others at this time. It just so happened that no one came to disturb his behavior. Jia Yan thought that this would save him some trouble and he could just do what he wanted to do. Jia Yan thought through all this, smiled slightly, and flew to his superstar in the energy circle. He has been asking people to help decorate this planet for a long time, and because of the urgency and his status, the entire construction process can be said to be extremely fast. The huge planet does not require too elaborate decoration style. It just gives Jia Yan more ability to propel in subspace, as well as a large number of thrusters that imitate the ETIS building, plus a certain rough surface decoration. It looks like it was so different from the surrounding strong planets. However, this planet is too big, with a diameter of thousands of kilometers, and the surrounding planets have become dwarf-like, so it still has a certain sense of domineering. Hee, I just haven't done some finishing decorations and the like. Not bad, it's enough for me. Jia Yan smiled and looked at the planet in front of him. At the same time, he turned on his brain and contacted the construction unit that knew Jia Yan was coming and had evacuated the workers early. The places where you didn't do a good job in construction are just a few places for decoration, right? Doesn't it affect its movement and opening of the defense cover? Very good, I understand. Thank you for your help. I will call you the balance right away. Jia Yan said that he is a very contractual person. If he agrees to pay the other party, he will pay the money, not to mention that he is not short of the hard-earned money of the working people. Now he opens Hineo's payment system, which Jia Yan was not familiar with. He used the payment function within the Zerg Queen's force and quickly made the payment. He won't be able to use the money within the Zerg Queen's force in the future, so it doesn't hurt at all to pay. Even if it wasn't a payment option and he couldn't pay more, he would still want to give more. After all, he did a good job for himself. After doing all this, Jia Yan immersed himself in his heart. More than 10,000 kilometers away from the huge planet Jia Yan, several planets away, there is a planet on which huge energy is constantly stirring. This is the training star where Black Sheep is located. At this moment, energy is constantly being swallowed up on the planet, but generally speaking, the power of this swallowing is already converging. In other words, Black Sheep has probably heard the intelligence coming from the outside world, is preparing to stop the work, and then meet with Jia in person. Rock. The half-domain master level energy is truly earth-shattering. The amount of energy it spilled out made me feel like I was facing the world directly. I didn't know what kind of attack would be carried out on me later. Hey. Jia Yan smiled, and then went about his business in an orderly manner without fear. It is not surprising that Black Sheep has such a terrifying power. He had made plans to face such a terrifying power before coming. So he didn't need to be nervous at the moment. He had done everything and got the guarantee from the Zerg Queen. What did he have to be afraid of? Jia Yan opened the planet's instruction manual, especially the methods of operating into subspace, etc. As a strong person at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, his brainwave power is powerful, which also shows that his learning ability is compared to ordinary creatures. It was much faster, so immediately, after watching it for a while, he understood how the entire planet operated. Edisha, this operation is very simple, but after you enter this planet, you will have to shoulder greater responsibilities. Are you sure you want to do this? Jia Yan called out to Edisha. The small light and shadow Mosquito quickly appeared in front of Jia Yan. Edisha is sure. Edisha has been waiting for this day for too long. I want to help the master. The light and shadow mosquitoes transformed by Aditha were circling around Jia Yan at the speed of light, making everyone happy. Okay then, you enter it, and then take the Edisha directly to the place where we store the things, and then transport the things to the planet and wait for me to get there. Okay. Edisha was waiting for Jia Yan's words. It instantly turned into a flash of light, rushed into the huge planet. Buzz. The planet lit up everywhere at the same time. I don't know if Edisha did this intentionally or what, but it was all colorful and dazzling. Boom 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 boom. Not long after, this huge planet felt like it was suddenly shaken. Flames were spraying out from its extremely huge body, and even the inside of this huge energy circle began to vibrate everywhere. Because of this unusual movement, many powerful people in the energy circle quietly emitted brainwave power and conducted observations. I saw the huge planet, the Edisha star named by Jia Yan, slowly gaining unimaginable thrust under the spray of flames, and moving forward like those battle planets used in wars. It's just that the feeling of him moving is not that he is flying towards the starry sky, but that after moving a certain distance and gaining a bit of inertia, several giant devices at the front of the entire planet are flashing with energy. Groan. A huge subspace rift took shape in front of my eyes. Please come to Cheateon.com to subscribe, brothers and sisters, thank you. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2183. Wow, Master, it's difficult to control a planet, but it's so refreshing, it's really moving. The light and shadow mosquitoes turned into Biodetha flew around the planet, and from time to time they flew into certain facilities on the planet and came out after a while, as if they were extremely busy. Jia Yan looked at this smart brain with a slight smile. In fact, for him, Edisha inherited everything from his predecessors. It was like watching Jia Yan grow up and accompany him along the way to become the existence he is today. Completely alive. So it is happy, and Jia Yan is also happy. Buzz buzz. The planet soon moved towards the gaping subspace hole, about half of which had penetrated, and the trend was accelerating. The surrounding galaxy-level powerhouses, as well as more stars and semi-stars at the bottom, were all watching the scene silently. In fact, all those who knew how Jia Yan decorated this planet had been I understand that he is trying to transport the planet into the subspace, and then form an existence similar to the War Fortress planet, but this War Fortress moves in the subspace. He has good propellers, but the shortcomings are used by Jia Yan with his subspace talent. The control and movement speed are simply unimaginable. Others cannot learn from it. Even if they can imitate those thrusters and design and manufacture them, people without subspace talents can only use them in shallow spaces, even in subspaces. The speed is too fast. It's also easy to run into danger. People who don't have subspace talent can smash the planet into pieces if they don't drive very far. This is something that only people with extremely high space talent like Jia Yan can use. Hey, we're almost in, but over there, the momentum seems to be gradually increasing. A group of galaxy-level powerhouses did not envy Jia Yan at all. They even had the mentality of watching the excitement, while watching the speed of the planet entering, while sensing the momentum of another planet not far away. That planet is the planet with the black sheep. At this moment, everyone can see that Black Sheep is suppressing his own cultivation. He is not willing to give up the super-fast realization after the breakthrough. Even if it takes more than a few months to recover in the future to make up for this period of time, he will also be there. No matter what. The reason is very simple, that is, Black Sheep has suffered the biggest setback among the Zerg Queen forces in recent years. He is about to leave the Zerg Queen force. If he cannot succeed in revenge under a strong situation, then he will never see you again next time. I don't know when, even Jia Yan will leave alone and die outside, or Black Sheep will die under a strong man, so for this kind of thing, it is better to take revenge immediately. And just when the huge planet gradually submerged into the subspace, only a little tail remained. A loud, earth-shattering voice, like a loud bell, shouted. Jia Yan. If you leave without saying hello to me, the Domain Lord, are you looking down on me? Coming. Jia Yan looked at the planet that had entered the subspace, but was disturbed by the shout, and the whole planet shook slightly. It was difficult to stabilize the planet, and he looked back with an ugly expression. Edisha, you control the planet to the meeting point we agreed on. I will go there in a moment. He said calmly to Edisha on the planet. Okay, Master, come on. Edisha responded. It is different from other intelligent brains. Although it seems to be stumbling to control the planet now, it is the intelligent brain that controls the Edisha every day, and is even born to move in subspace, so controlling this planet is not suitable for it. Much more powerful than other intelligent programs. After a certain period of adaptation, you can get rid of Jia Yan's help and let the planet enter 8 or 9 degrees of flight. Of course, this will be much more difficult than the Aditha and requires Jia Yan himself. It will be safer if you help control it. Groan. The planet left by itself in subspace, which surprised the people watching around. But soon, Everyone no longer cared about the departed planet, but watched another more beautiful show. A great drama that only belongs to the middle-level peak of the galaxy and the existence of the half-domain master. Boom boom boom. An earth-shaking wave of air, mixed with the power of the approaching figure, rushed towards him. Jia Yan's giant mosquito body did not retreat, nor did he show the slightest hint of cowardice. Even if he escapes, he won't escape now, otherwise the coming people will surely catch the still stumbling planet, and then the meaning of his return will be lost. Don't be angry, Mr. Black Sheep. I just saw that your cultivation is more difficult, so I didn't bother you. I just didn't expect that you would be willing to stop practicing in order to see me off. I'm really touched. Jia Yan looked at the approaching figure with a smile. This figure is still as dark as ever, but the body is larger than what we saw during the battle some time ago. Of course, because these ordinary strong creatures do not become stronger through mutation, their huge bodies it still has to grow slowly, unlike Jia Yan, who can undergo a mutation after devouring a large amount of energy and naturally expand and grow his body. This is already a very time and energy saving method. The flashing electric light on the black sheep's horns was even more intense, and the feeling of gravity all around the black sheep's body also made others slightly frightened. It's not that black sheep is showing off, this is a normal reaction after a breakthrough. After all, even ordinary level breakthroughs will have a period of adaptation. He has only broken through to the semi-domain master level, so the adaptation period is expected to be even longer. Only after reaching the territory lord can he restrain his strength. During this process, it is impossible for his energy to be restrained. Jia Yan, you are really good. I heard that you have stabilized the front line and bought time for the rear to sort out. As the former commander-in-chief, I want to thank you. Black Sheep ignored Jia Yan's teasing, but got closer and closer, looking at the person who had defeated him calmly, and praised Jia Yan with a sneer. No need to thank you, Mr. Black Sheep, let's open the skylight and speak frankly. Since you have become the half-domain master before me, then I can't stay with the power of the Queen of the Zerg. What are your preparations now? Jia Yan shook his head, not intending to delay any more time, because Black Sheep had already restrained its strength and was slowly becoming stronger and stronger. Do you want to leave? Let's do this. You won last time. Now that I have been promoted to the semi-domain master level, I can't bully you. Let's do this. If you can take 10 of my moves, I will let you go. How about it? Black Sheep also understands very well that even if no one feels it, the reclusive Queen of the Zerg is watching here at this moment. It is absolutely impossible for him to kill Jia Yan unless he does it at this time. Prepare to defy the Zerg Queen. Of course, even if he wanted to, he couldn't do it. After being promoted to Territory Lord, the current Black Sheep is the most clear about the strength and greatness of the Zerg Queen. He also knows why she is happy to see his promotion, because in a short while, even it is very likely that he will never be able to threaten the status of the Zerg Queen. The gap in strength between the two sides is still a bit big. Therefore, the Zerg Queen is watching this scene, and he cannot kill Jia Yan, unless he is the territory lord at the moment, and the Zerg Queen gives him some face and does not stop him, but the current half-territory master's strength is still not enough. So Black Sheep proposed the 10 moves agreement. This was told to Jia Yan and also to the Queen of the Zerg. As long as Jia Yan agrees, then within 10 moves, in addition to being unable to kill Jia Yan, how to seriously injure or even cripple Jia Yan, the Queen of the Zerg cannot intervene, otherwise it will be too disrespectful to the Black Sheep. This will be a grudge in the future. Almost impossible to eliminate. And this matter cannot be tolerated by Jia Yan. A half-domain master, even if he is just a newly promoted half-domain master, has great face. The person who is destined to become a domain master in the future, or in other words, he is already equivalent to a domain master. If Jia Yan refuses, then Jia Yan will not be able to leave. Besides, everyone knows that Jia Yan is willing to come back and stand still waiting for the black sheep instead of using his subspace talent to escape, which also shows that Jia Yan is ready to have the final dialogue with the other party of the strip. That's right, talk with straight up force. That's what a strong man can do. All other lies and pretense are all false. Jia Yan looked at Black Sheep and gradually increased his physical aura. The opponent was a half-domain lord. Jia Yan understood very well that this was a completely new improvement in strength. Jia Yan never even thought about winning, but in 10 moves. 10 moves? That's it? Black Sheep, don't think that just because you have been promoted to half-territory lord, you will definitely defeat me. I have not made any progress during this period. Thank you very much. I have gained a lot from this position as Commander-in-Chief of the war, and I would like to thank you for giving up your position. He was using his actual actions to express his answer. Not long after, Jia Yan's yin and yang aura rose up like a scorching Sunday. Then, with the aura of the black sheep in front of him, it came into being. There was a tit-for-tat collision. The outcome of this collision is clear at a glance. Black Sheep has finally been promoted to the semi-domain master level. It displays an overwhelming momentum, suppressing all the power emerging from Jia Yan's body, but unable to lock his body. The power that surged out of Jia Yan's body was like the glory that never gave up, resisting the waves. Okay, this is the Jia Yan I know, ha ha ha, since you agreed, then accept the move. Black Sheep's body was filled with lightning, and he used his innate ability, and a bolt of lightning struck Jia Yan out of thin air. Bang bang. Lightning is much more powerful than the kind of lightning that occurs on Earth. This is a domain lord level lightning. In terms of power alone, it is at least as powerful as the strongest lightning on the ancient giant gaseous planet, and its speed is faster than the speed of light. It's not much slower. Putting it on this half-domain lord creature is almost the trump card for Black Sheep to become a strong one among the domain lords in the future. But the strong is the strong. Even if Jia Yan, a strong man, is actually not as strong as a half-domain master, in terms of level, Black Sheep is not much stronger than before. Jia Yan also said as he said, his strength has also improved. The last time the two of them competed, Jia Yan had just been promoted to the top of the intermediate galaxy, while Black Sheep was boiling with energy and was about to be promoted. In the end, Black Sheep was defeated. But this time, Jia Yan digested the benefits of strength improvement after promotion, and took advantage of his position during the war to use a lot of resources to practice and steadily improve his strength. In addition, he fought against many strong men at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, making him his path as a future domain master has become more stable, and his combat effectiveness has been greatly improved. On the other hand, Black Sheep's side has been successfully promoted to the level of a half-domain lord, but it seems to be extremely strong, and his energy has increased tremendously, but in fact, his fighting methods have not changed at all. In other words, this battle does not seem to be as difficult as Jia Yan imagined. At least Black Sheep has no time to digest the real domain master level benefits, but with the energy becoming greater, it is not impossible for him to block 10 moves. Puff. When the lightning attack from Black Sheep arrived in front of him, Jia Yan's front feet suddenly turned extremely blue, and then he crossed his feet to resist the lightning. Huh? Is it blocked? These feet are, very good. It seems that your time, Jia Yan, has not been in vain, which makes me more interested. Black Sheep's expression condensed. He originally thought that this move would at least severely injure Jia Yan, but he never expected that Jia Yan would develop such a defensive method in such a short period of time. He suddenly sneered even more. Heavy, and at the same time, the interest in my heart was also raised. I originally thought that when I reached the semi-domain master level and faced Jia Yan, who was almost defeated by me, I would definitely defeat him in one move. I didn't expect that this guy is really a genius. In such a short time, he can defeat him in one move. And there is progress in strength. Grown. The second move is to. Black Sheep used his gravity talent. The use of dual talents has always been his magic weapon to defeat everyone. Jia Yan only felt that his body was suddenly pulled forward by an invisible hand, and the position in front was the Black Sheep's pair of black horns flashing with lightning arcs. Hey! Jia Yan's entire huge giant mosquito body became insubstantial. Although his body could not resist the pull of this moment, Jia Yan could use his talent. After all, everyone is talented, so why can't Jia Yan use it? Puff. When he was about to be stabbed by the black horn, his whole body passed through the body of the black sheep, which shocked the bystanders. But in fact, Jia Yan entered the subspace at this moment. Amazing! Amazing! Jia Yan, you are indeed the person I like. If I hadn't had any conflicts with you before, I would really give you a good fight in this battle. After I am promoted to half-territory lord it has a better beating effect, but... Black Sheep failed in his second move, and even he couldn't help but praise Jia Yan's strength. However, there are irreconcilable conflicts between the two sides. Even if Black Sheep is optimistic about Jia Yan, it is impossible for him to be brothers, let alone to change the original intention of fighting Jia Yan. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2184. Black Sheep's third move became even more powerful. Boom. Jia Yan felt as if the whole world had collapsed. The gift of gravity was blessing his body, and it was like countless heavy mountains, hitting Jia Yan's body hard. Now he is really going to die. The Black Sheep who has become a half-domain master is not very powerful, but his energy is almost twice as much as before. Just this doubled energy can make Jia Yan unable to resist. Is this the strength of a half-domain master? And he is a person who has just been promoted and has no time to practice. If Black Sheep is given a month to familiarize himself with how to use energy, I estimate that I can do it within 3 to 5 moves. He would have to be seriously injured. But, isn't this the reason why I'm here? In such a short time, he can't possibly have time to master the power of sorting out the semi-domain master level. Jia Yan sighed at the power of Black Sheep from the bottom of his heart, but his body was suppressed by the huge force. After fighting with Black Sheep before, he figured out the flaw in its gravity talent and suddenly attacked. Originally, within the subspace, the impact of weight was not great, but now Jia Yan still found the shortcomings of the previous battle, which made the Black Sheep's energy much less effective than suppressing Jia Yan head-on. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan drilled out of the control area not long after being suppressed. Huh? This Jia Yan, it's his third move, can he still fight back and forth? The expressions of the strong men watching the battle all around changed drastically. I originally thought that under the powerful attack of Black Sheep after being promoted to half-domain lord, Jia Yan would definitely be severely damaged after sustaining 10 attacks. Unexpectedly, the third attack had passed, and Jia Yan had not hurt a hair. This made the onlookers around who were not optimistic about Jia Yan, but wanted to wait and see when the Zerg Queen would take action, their expressions changed slightly. In fact, everyone knows that Jia Yan came to the energy circle to take away his belongings because he knew that after Black Sheep became the territory lord, there would be no room for his own survival in the Zerg Queen's power. Even if there were Zerg, it was no use having the Queen standing by to assist. As for everyone gathered here, what they wanted to see the most was the next attitude of the Zerg Queen, whether she would be partial to Jia Yan or help Black Sheep. The Zerg Queen will definitely save Jia Yan, but this rescue can also be divided into serious injuries and minor injuries. This is a shot. After everyone sees it, you will understand the attitude of some Zerg queens. Even in the case of rescue, will Black Sheep have a small conflict with her, or will he engage in a 1-2 punch fight? This is also the future direction of power among a certain force. Black Sheep himself is probably making preparations. After all, he is only a half-domain lord. Even if he reaches the level of a domain lord, there will be a certain gap in strength between him and the Zerg queen. Both sides need to think carefully. But what they never expected was that everyone was ready to see what was going to happen next, but Jia Yan was stuck in the plot. That's right, Jia Yan was about to show his defeat, but he refused to lose. This is a bit inhumane. Everyone is very weird. I would say angry, a little bit, but mostly surprised. Jia Yan was considered to be defeated soon, but he was not defeated, at least not as badly as he was defeated. How will the next big drama happen? Humph, Jia Yan, you really underestimated the strength of the half-domain master, defeat me. In the fourth move, the Black Sheep lightning was suddenly released. Then, he instantly used his own gravity method. Jia Yan suddenly felt the fierce gravity inside the subspace, pulling him tightly. But at the same moment, lightning came in front of him again. Such a move is as terrifying as a trump card. If Jia Yan is hit, his skin will peel off. But Jia Yan didn't have much fear. Now that he had already taken action, he wouldn't have any wavering or regret. He was more thinking about how to withstand these 10 moves. Is it similar to a killer move? This time it's even simpler than last time. Jia Yan sneered, then suddenly retracted his body, and at the same time, the positive and negative forces of yin and yang dao were released fiercely like the whale. This release is not a confrontation with the opponent's energy. Jia Yan is self-aware. His mid-level peak power of the galaxy cannot be as powerful as a half-domain master in any case. If he collides head-on with the opponent, he will be hit. He fell into the Black Sheep's scheme. He released these yin and yang paths just to pull in some arrangements that followed him to the subspace. That's right, it's those large and small magic weapons, or in other words, some meteorites that are not yet mature. It's just that the meteorite-like materials Jia Yan used this time are different from the rough ones before. They are divided into large and small, and are divided into various materials. What is causing this now is an iron mineral that contains energy. It is even correct to say that it is a mature metal ball. The metal ball came in an instant, and because of its metal material, the front and back sides were yin and yang, and the energy was positive and negative. At the same time as it was attracted, the opposite material suddenly spewed out power, accelerating the speed of the material metal ball, causing it to, although its transformation was not as powerful as lightning, it was not too far behind. Moreover, in the subspace, as soon as it was attracted by Jia Yan, it advanced by leaps and bounds, blocking the gap between lightning and Jia Yan. Boom! This metal ball directly collided with the lightning, and was not even destroyed by the huge lightning strike. Instead, it remained in a stalemate for a while, and then turned into ashes. But the lightning's power to move forward was no longer sufficient, and Jia Yan had already escaped from where he was. No matter how fierce the lightning was, it could not hit him. The process of the fourth move seemed very slow, but in fact it went by as fast as lightning. After this move, the Black Sheep's face finally turned completely dark. Oh no, he originally had black skin, but now everyone can see that he is actually angry. Very good, Jia Yan, you managed to dodge 4 of my moves intact. Don't think you can dodge the next move easily. Black Sheep restrained his mentality that he was about to face the Zerg Queen, and instead dealt with the first person he had to deal with, which was Jia Yan. He finally understood that it was right for him to advance to the semi-domain master level, but Jia Yan had also made great progress. This improvement is not an improvement in energy strength, but that he has adapted to the energy of the mid-level peak of the galaxy, Plus he has a lot of practical experience, and he has also added several new methods. Logically speaking, it is difficult for a strong person to jump across levels no matter what. For example, Jia Yan is the pinnacle of the mid-level galaxy. Against a half-domain master like him, even if he is only half a level away, but in fact, it is almost impossible to make the leap. But Jia Yan took a different approach. That was the external force he had been using, those meteorites that were initially looked down upon by countless people and considered ridiculous. This method, now deliberately modified and improved by Jia Yan, has evolved into a magic weapon just as he thought. And it is not a joke, it really works. Of course, the most important thing among them is his yin and yang dao. Without the yin and yang dao, the so-called magical weapons are useless. This kind of pure explosive power and extremely ferocious power is exactly what Jia Yan is doing. Something that is only possible after being blessed by the positive and negative forces of yin and yang. That's the fifth move. Black Sheep, haven't you been promoted to half-domain lord? Is that it? That would disappoint me so much. After Jia Yan faced Black Sheep's first 4 moves, his whole body seemed to have been sublimated. That's right, it's sublimation. It's so cool. He was previously afraid of an existence that was almost equivalent to a territory lord. This was not something that Jia Yan could erase if he wanted to. But after overcoming his fear, it was indeed a new world. Jia Yan's strength has become more vivid in this battle. The recent improvement and explosion of strength are not useless, but too useful. It will be very difficult to deal with a newly promoted half-domain lord. Even if it is difficult, it is only a matter of time, but this is a great encouragement to Jia Yan himself. At least it has been lingering in Jia Yan's heart. The fear of the territory lord and the timid heart that he has always felt have disappeared. What has changed is Jia Yan's increasingly confident mood. Ha ha ha, very good, Jia Yan, you are so good. You are indeed the opponent I have always fancied, ha ha ha. At this moment, Black Sheep couldn't help it anymore and laughed angrily. Then, he began to treat Jia Yan as his real opponent and suddenly used his own methods. That's right, the previous 4 moves were not Black Sheep's real methods. He had been guarding against the Zerg Queen, and was also thinking about how to deal with this incident with the Zerg Queen. But I didn't expect that Jia Yan was Jia Yan, and his biggest enemy at the time did not become insignificant just because he was promoted to the strength of a half-domain lord. He even fought a tie with him in 4 moves. For Black Sheep, this was like a great shame and humiliation. The failure of the friendly discussion with Jia Yan before the previous promotion, the feeling of heart-wrenching, wishing to fight to the death with Jia Yan, was suddenly remembered again. Suddenly, Black Sheep began to use all his strength. There is no need to worry about the Zerg Queen, and there is no need to think about what will happen next. At the moment, he just wants to get rid of the big enemy in front of him, Jia Yan. Boom 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 boom. At this moment, Black Sheep suddenly crashed into the subspace as if he was also a creature gifted in subspace. His body was larger than Jia Yan's. When he hit the subspace, a big shock was caused inside the entire subspace, and then Jia Yan's retreat became a kind of vibration. Jia Yan, I want you to see what will happen if you offend a domain lord. Gravity blessing. This kind of shock is Black Sheep's serious method, and it is even close to his trump card. With one move, not to mention the normal space, even the interior of the subspace will be greatly affected. Condensed into the 5th dimension of subspace in one breath. Jia Yan has just entered the 3rd level space and is still within the influence of this shock. Therefore, his body was directly affected by the terrifying gravity, and his whole body was shaken. What a terrifying gravity application range. This Black Sheep has really undergone earth-shaking changes. Jia Yan has fought against Black Sheep and knows the general range of his strength, but now, the strength he has learned is different. At least the former Black Sheep would never restrict his actions in subspace. It's possible, after all, Jia Yan is the strongest in subspace talent. But this time, he did it easily because he was already a half-domain lord. This is the terrifying strength of level suppression. Even Black Sheep has not transformed this strength into true full power. Go to hell. The horns of the Black Sheep were like a terrifying blade that followed the shadow, piercing from outside the first dimension into the third dimension in one breath. Following the horns, his whole body suddenly hit the subspace. None of them look like strong men with non-subspace talents. So fast. With the strength of a domain master, is it so easy to enter the secondary space? It's an eye-opener. Jia Yan has always called the subspace his home, and has rarely seen any beings who would go to the subspace to fight with him. But today, Black Sheep did it, and he did it with his non-subspace talent. You can do it yourself. Get out of my way. He gritted his teeth and used all his strength to barely avoid the impact of the horn. The sharp point of the horn passed directly by him, scaring Jia Yan so much that he broke out in a cold sweat. The gap between the two sides is really big. But fortunately, this gap has not yet reached the point where Jia Yan felt like he was going to die with just one blow when he was chased by the domain master creature. Now Black Sheep is not yet a territory lord, not even a complete half-territory lord, and Jia Yan is not the same person he was when he was hunted down by the territory lord, so he can fight back and forth. This is the fifth move. This Jia Yan is so powerful. Is Your Excellency Black Sheep a little underestimating the enemy? No. It seems that he has not underestimated the enemy. Could it be that there is a half-domain master whose strength is not very high? Outside the outer space, every galaxy-level and weaker star-level existence was observing the battle in amazement. Some people even whispered to each other and expressed their opinions. Some people who were not aware of it, I also think that Black Sheep's strength is just that. Such contempt, or a group of people who were going to continue to work together in the future and were ready to converge and become subordinates, were whispering to each other, being penetrated deep into the subspace, but because of the hearing ability of the domain lord level, Black Sheep heard it clearly. He suddenly flew into a rage. The sixth move, I'm really going to use the killing move next, Jia Yan, don't blame me if you die. His sheep's feet went straight to the fourth floor of the second row where Jia Yan was, and stepped hard. There was even an electric light emerging between the sheep's hooves, and then the gravity talent was used together. This was Black Sheep using the combat moves of the two talents at the same time. Using these moves at the same time also meant that he finally used the skills in normal mode. The enemy's plan was to ignore Jia Yan's life and death. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2185. Come on, I thought that was all you had. Jia Yan's words almost made Black Sheep, who was already on the verge of explosion, unable to bear it anymore and prepared to use his real trump card. But he endured it, because he understood that Jia Yan would die if he used the trump card, but the Zerg Queen would not let Jia Yan die, so she would take action, and the battle would end like this without any other surprises. Therefore, you cannot use a killer move, but a formal move similar to a killing move. But it's definitely enough. Black Sheep doesn't believe that Jia Yan can still avoid his move. The use of double moves allows Black Sheep, the majestic half-domain master, to fully demonstrate his strength. Perhaps the only disadvantage was that he was so arrogant that he actually entered the subspace, and once he entered, he pursued him to the depth of 5 degrees of subspace. Buzz buzz. When Jia Yan used Black Sheep's move, he felt that the entire 5-dimensional space had lost all sense in an instant. Then he also felt that the weight of his body seemed to increase dozens or even 100 times in an instant, and he was almost unable to do anything. Move. This is Black Sheep's ordinary move, and it is no different from the previous battle, because when Black Sheep improves its strength, there is no extra time to study combat moves, so the feeling of the moves is the same. Of The problem is power. Too strong. This move is probably much stronger than Black Sheep's previous trump card. This is the strength of a half-domain master. Lightning struck in an instant. At this moment, in the palace of the Zerg Queen outside, a force rose faintly. Unbeknownst to everyone, it seemed to be breaking into the subspace and preparing to rescue Jia Yan. This is the energy of the Zerg Queen. For her, there was a reason to save Jia Yan's life, and there was even a reason to save Jia Yan's life since he was still her subordinate. She could not give up on Jia Yan just because one of his subordinates was promoted to half-territory lord. This will make other subordinates feel that their lips are dying and their teeth are cold. But just when the Zerg Queen was ready, she was slightly startled, and then the power that was triggered but not released stagnated outside the subspace and did not enter the subspace at all. The reason is also very simple, because there seemed to be other variables in the battle within the subspace. When Jia Yan was restrained by gravity and lightning, and was almost hit hard on the head, a metal meteorite about 5 kilometers in size burst into the battlefield, and slammed away at the Black Sheep. Because it is inside the subspace, and it is inside the fifth-dimensional subspace, Jia Yan's subspace talent is almost like a fish in water at this depth. What is very different from the Black Sheep who are restricted is that he can control these freedoms. Meteorite with a depth of 3 or 4 layers can be shot into the battle circle without expending more force. Humph, it's these little tricks again. Black Sheep's face changed slightly. If he chooses to attack Jia Yan, although this move will still hit Jia Yan, he will also be shot by the meteorite metal coming from behind. It seems that the power of this metal is enough to make him suffer a tiny scratch. But Jia Yan will not die, because his move is an ordinary move. It is one thing that Jia Yan can avoid it, but it is another thing whether it can kill him. So if after one move, Jia Yan was seriously injured but not dead, he, a majestic half-domain lord, was also injured by one move. Even if the two sides ended up with his victory, there would be a trace of stain. After all, you are already a half-domain lord. All those who are loyal to you or are ready to be loyal to you are ready to watch you kill everyone. It is perfect to defeat Jia Yan easily without any injuries. In the end, he suffered a slight injury. Not to mention others, he himself would not be satisfied. Therefore, in this move, he will not trade injuries with Jia Yan. As a semi-domain master, he has never moved as easily as he did today within the fifth dimension. In an instant, he left his original position, and the metal meteorite material suddenly flew to the other side of the battle circle between the two parties. Hey, as expected, he didn't want to trade injuries with himself. Jia Yan, the being who controlled the meteorite metal, showed an unexpected expression. He has no intention of truly defeating this half-domain master. After all, even if the opponent has not been promoted to half-domain master, he is probably not much worse than the current Jia Yan. At most, he is only half as good. Jia Yan still has some self-awareness. So all he wanted was to hit the opponent 10 times, which was equivalent to a big slap in the face, and then it would be his time to escape. And by the 6th move, Jia Yan had already built up his initial confidence in himself. The semi-domain master level is not as scary as imagined. You can fight it yourself. Even if you make yourself stronger, even a real domain master might have a chance to resist 1 or 2 moves. The strange gleam in Jia Yan's eyes, as well as the confident look, made him even realize it. It was shining and full of momentum. To be honest, this current battle, as long as Jia Yan doesn't have any major problems, such as serious injury or even death, for him, it will be another best battle at the best time. The previous fear of the territory lord should have been eliminated when he reached the peak of the middle level of galaxy, otherwise it would definitely be detrimental to his growth, and it happened that Black Sheep's promotion success and his malice towards him gave him he has such a good chance to counterattack, and what's even better is that no one will die from the beginning of this battle, because the Queen of the Zerg, the real domain master, is guarding this final limit. So in general, it can be said that the time, place, and people are favorable, and all the benefits have been taken advantage of by Jia Yan. What Jia Yan did was to overcome his fear before coming, that's all. Bang. The seventh move. Damn it, it's such a stone again, Jia Yan, can't you fight me openly? A group of exploding stones shot towards the black sheep in the subspace, causing the black sheep's attack to miss a little bit, and that little bit caused him to collide with Jia Yan's forefoot. Instead of hitting the intended target, Jia Yan's head. Jia Yan's speed cannot be compared with black sheep, and his attack power cannot be compared with black sheep, but he has the external power of meteorites, and his subspace talent is much stronger than black sheep. Within this five-dimensional subspace, Jia Yan can't compare with black sheep. In fact, it was basically the main battlefield, so it was able to withstand many moves. Black sheep also discovered this, especially in the seventh move. He clearly aimed at Jia Yan's head, but using Jia Yan's subspace talent, the subspace around him not only did not attack Jia Yan's movement was blocked, but a twist appeared next to Jia Yan's head, making his dodge movements faster. This is the home advantage that a strong person with subspace talent can have when fighting inside the main battlefield of subspace. Black Sheep was overconfident, which led him to pursue the subspace, giving Jia Yan such convenience. Otherwise, Jia Yan might have really been defeated in the battle in the starry sky outside. But then again, Jia Yan wants to fight in the subspace. If Black Sheep does not enter the subspace, then he may. Ran. Yes, he really knows how to run, but he is going to lose anyway. Since Black Sheep does not enter his home court, if he does not run, he still goes out to fight with the opponent. Is it embarrassing to be defeated? Jia Yan is not stupid. Facing a semi-domain lord level existence, he used his sublime talent to escape. From anyone's perspective, it would not be embarrassing. It should even be said that he was able to escape. Others are amazed. As for now, Jia Yan actually fought with Black Sheep for 7 moves. The 7th move seemed dangerous and almost hit his head, but he still blocked it. All of this surprised others more than his ability to escape. It should even be said that it was a shock. Everyone can see clearly that Black Sheep has used all his absolute strength at this moment except for his trump card. But the problem is that within the subspace talent, it is indeed not his home court, and Jia Yan has that weird magic. After the help of the weapon, that is, the meteorite, it actually blocked the attack of a half-domain master. Now even if Jia Yan loses and Black Sheep wins the 8th move, he has already lost all face. No one thought that a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy could really fight to this extent with a half-domain master creature. Maybe, among the huge forces in the central star field of the Milky Way, there will be such top geniuses. Everyone has been coming to this galaxy central star territory for a long time, and has a general understanding of the distinctions between the entire galaxy central star territory. In this huge galaxy central star territory, there are actually many different places. Although they are all prosperous, they are truly prosperous and powerful. The place where it comes out is the area where the central black hole of the Milky Way is located in the center of the Milky Way's central star field. There are a large number of terrifying powerhouses there, and domain lord level powers are everywhere, and many of them may even be much stronger than the Zerg Queen. Moreover, there are rumors that in that area, there are several high-level strong men in the galaxy that have been confirmed in the entire galaxy. Even if these strong men are as strong as the domain lords, and they are the top beings among the domain lords, they are all treated as first-rate gods. The gap is too big. In addition to the strong, there are also many geniuses in that area. As Jia Yan showed right now, with the strength of a peak mid-level star, he can deal with a half-domain master. There are also geniuses there, and they may even be better than Jia Yan. Yan is even stronger. Of course, everyone doesn't know if there is any difference between the two sides. After all, No one has been to the black hole in the central star field of the Milky Way, and it seems that the Zerg Queen is not planning to go there. It's just that they may not know that among the people watching the battle, there is a protagonist, and the next plan is to go over there and have a look. Yes, that's Jia Yan. He didn't originally have this idea, because he thought that if he even explored the edge of the central star field of the Milky Way with so much effort, wouldn't he be seeking death by running to the center of the center? But in the process of fighting the black sheep, he changed his mind. Yes, his confidence is back. Back then, even a gust of wind might have blown him to death as a small mosquito, but he still followed his will, running to the factory, the underground world, fighting mutant animals, etc. Which of those enemies were not can it pose a threat to him? But now, just because the black hole area in the central star field of the Milky Way is dangerous, he is timid and dare not run? Just as timid as a mouse. Jia Yan determined that he was going to the black hole area in the central star field of the Milky Way. At this moment, new vitality seemed to bloom deep in his heart, and at the same time, his whole person became much more heroic. 8th, Black Sheep had just finished using the 7th move, and was about to use the 8th move again in anger, but his eyes suddenly trembled. He took a step back, and then carefully looked at the opponent in front of him. Jia Yan's body has not changed much, and his energy has not changed either. The problem is, his eyes completely changed. Unlike when he was fighting with him before, he was still thinking about how to escape and how to plot against the black sheep. Instead, he seems to have a fearless spirit, and his temperament and energy have been sublimated. This black sheep's expression changed slightly. He felt that if he continued to fight like this, he might give Jia Yan more combat experience. Especially since he was fighting on his own, it also made Jia Yan feel like a domain lord. A trace of the rules of battle. In the future, through these insights, Jia Yan may be able to be promoted to the domain lord level more easily. Humph, Jia Yan, I won't do the 8th move. You can do it on your own. Black Sheep himself didn't know why, but he actually said the above words. Then he turned his head and strode towards the outside world of subspace. This scene left everyone dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. It was a good fight, and Black Sheep seemed to be playing with real fire. Why did it end so suddenly? By the way, if the 10-move agreement is gone, who will win and who will lose? Could it be that, can Jia Yan still be considered the winner? That's too scary. Jia Yan, who has only been promoted to the top of the galaxy intermediate level not long ago, actually defeated a half-domain master in a one-on-one situation. After a round, no matter if he was cheating or if there were any problems in the middle, winning would make Jia Yan's reputation even more shocking. Of course, the strong men within the power of the Zerg Queen will not tell anyone. After all, the future Black Sheep is already a territory lord level existence. If he talks nonsense outside, he will find a chance to wear small shoes. They are not Jia Yan and cannot be defeated. It's just that Jia Yan's performance is really amazing. A mere mid-level peak of the galaxy, can he really have a slight victory over a half-domain lord, or even a near-domain lord? Oh, you actually stopped fighting. Jia Yan was also startled. But then, he seemed to understand why the Black Sheep didn't fight, and the ferocious light in his eyes became even bolder. Don't fight. That's okay, Black Sheep, just keep the 3 moves that you have upgraded and downgraded. I will come back when I reach the domain lord level. I hope you will practice more diligently. Goodbye.